You know what? You never forget it. You never forget it because there's nothing like it. This is Mount Panorama. This is Bathurst.
As soon as you head out on this mountain, it is total commitment for every single millimetre.
Looks like last cars are gridded up down.
If you can't make the judgment call 120 metres into 1,000 kilometres to just be a little bit sensible, don't start the race.
The Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000 erupts.
The charge to turn one.
Okay, it's a great corner, second gear. The engine's right in its sweet spot. But remember, whilst you've got to carry mid-corner speed and use that exit curb, you want to get to 100% throttle early, so don't get too greedy. Don't get caught up in the moment. The moment is 6 hours later.
Side by side on Mountain Straight.
If I can offer you one free bit of advice, every single time you exit the pit lane, you grab your belts and you tighten them. And every other lap you think of it, you tighten them again. And after a pit stop, whether they've changed the brake pads or not, tattoo it under your eyelids. Pump the brake pedal, because if they put the pads in and you forget,
Fuel on the road.
you're a goner. Yeah, Griffin's Bend, right? It's one of the toughest on the circuit. If you don't get this one right, psychologically, you're gone for the rest of the lap.
That's a big hurry up.
It's about 260 on the way in, remember? And you've got to knock off 130 k's an hour. But you've got to do that on the bumps on the way in. But let me give you a tip. When you're challenging for Griffin's Bend, either make the commitment or get the hell out of it. We're approaching the cutting. If I can't tell you anything simpler than this, there is one racing line up there. Make sure you're on the tram tracks. There is no room to put your front right tyre even a foot outside of where it needs to be.
Oh, the track is jammed. Oh.
Idiot, I'm sorry.
When we come up to Reed Park, you need to hug the wall. Put the car right over there, hard on the wall, but be careful. Don't overuse the curb on the inside. It'll feed you into the wall.
Drama here.
This is a great part of the circuit where we go from going up the hill and we transform to going down the hills. And no more beautiful sight than your revs in front of you. Bang, 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 bang. So we're out of Reed Park and now we're going to head down to that damn grate, right? It's a horrible, dirty drain up against a wall on the right-hand side of the circuit. Now, the problem here is you've got to commit really, really early. And you don't know, because nowhere in Australia does your front tyre and your car get more downward load than at the grate. You don't know way back then if your power steering is going to suffer it or it's going to give up and feed you into the fence. So we've got through the grate. We're now heading through Sulman to McPhillamy Park. This is Mount Panorama. This is where you need to be thinking corners ahead of where you are. You can't see the roadway up ahead, but you're going to average from the cutting all the way to Skyline around 200 kilometres an hour. This ain't kids' play.
Oh, big moment.
So you've got through the top of the mountain, you've done the tough driver stuff. Now, throw that bit away, you've got to be a ballerina.
That's the view from Skyline. Go for broke time.
You're going to need to dance all the way down through the S's.
The descent starts.
Until you arrive at the dipper. And when you get to the dipper, yeah, sure, it looks really cool with two wheels hanging up in the air. You can't get the throttle on, can you, with two wheels in the air? Get the thing back on the deck. And the moment your rear tyre hits the ground is the same moment your right foot hits the firewall. Now weave through the concrete walls, but don't get too clever and trying to get an inch away from them. There's nothing to be gained by doing that. Forest elbow. This is the second time and the only other time in the lap that you're not going to feel your front tyres. You're going to come over the little crest there, downhill, and 1.5 tons she won't want to pull up.
Oh, look at this!
So this is where you need to be really measured, slow it up, because your big drama here is going to be understeer. The car does not want to turn there.
They're tagging, they're tagging!
For goodness sake, be aware of what's going on around you. If there's one gap you can leave open for your competitors, it's right there. Think about this. You need to either position yourself out right, commit yourself to Conrod straight and your top speed, or you're going to need to defend, because that is one of the great spots for attack. And if you're going to defend, there is nothing surer you are going to compromise your straight line speed. So if you're going to defend, you defend. You block him, you pull him up, so you get your foot to the gas first.
This is wild. This is as fast as it gets. 300 kilometres an hour.
Now, I don't care what cars you've driven in your career or where you've driven them. There is nowhere else that you're going to go where 1.5 tons of race car at 300 kilometres an hour actually feels like 1.5 tons of race car at 300 kilometres an hour. And you're approaching what is the fastest corner in Australian motorsport, the Chase. You want a tough bit of roadway? That's it. You want to talk about commitment? This is it. You come down here and you'll see there's 1 metre of tarmac that's been laid down on the left-hand side of that for you to use every single millimetre of it. If for one lap you do not go out there and use that,
That is an almighty crash.
you're going to compromise your lap time and compromise your result. So you need to use that every lap. And why do you need to do that? You need to get the car around there. At 300 kilometres an hour, do not lift your right foot off the throttle until the car is squared up, and when it is, and only then, you put your foot on the brake and you push it so damn hard that you want to bend the brake pedal.
He goes, he's into the side of him. They run into each other. He's blocked out brake. He's going to redress. He's going to redress. Oh, they're all gone. This is huge in Australian motorsport.
Last corner. So you've got 6 kilometres of the 6.213 kilometre circuit done. Do not get it wrong here.
This kid is going to win this thing today.
Finish the job right now.
Will Davison might get this done. Nothing in it. He wins it by a car length.
So that defines this mountain. That defines this race. Do you want to win it? Everyone wants to win it. If you can't first beat the mountain, you will never win this race.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the MotorMotion E-Series Player 1 Sim Gear GT3 Championship. And we are at Bathurst, folks. We are at Mount Panorama. We've come all the way home to Australia for the ultimate race here, the final of our inaugural season of the GT3 Championship. It all comes down to this today for everyone on track, all the teams, all the drivers, all the divisions. This is it. This is the pit of fire that is going to purify the grid and give us the final result for our fantastic inaugural season. And it's going to be an absolutely brilliant race. I am really stoked to be bringing you the live commentary and action from on track tonight for our 20 minutes of qualifying and a 90-minute endurance race. Remember, it is double points tonight for this championship. It is make or break, a total of 44 points on offer tonight. And can we find a winner in all the divisions in the team's title? Yes, is the answer to that. We're going to be going to this amazing circuit. It's 23 turns over 6.2 kilometers. It is a stunning track here and a great day as well for going racing at the pillar and the mountain of speed. These GT3 cars are ready to go. We're going to be taking you live into commentary in a couple of minutes, so stay tuned. We'll be running through some race information as well as we go through before the qualifying. The mandatory tyre of the day is the soft tyre, and we are going to be broadcasting tonight the Group B lobby. That's the Pro-Am and Am class championships for your viewing pleasure. So without further ado, let's jump into some race information and get you all caught up for what's going to be an absolutely spectacular final to this season. So, of course, as I mentioned, it is round 10 out of 10 for the GT3 Championship here today at MotorMotion E-Series. Hashtag be the best and get ready for our 20 minutes of qualifying coming up in a couple of minutes, and then our 90-minute endurance race starting a little bit after that. It's all on offer here with double points today. You've got to be on it, and you've got to be ready and willing to put absolutely everything into it tonight. And, of course, you're watching the Group B broadcast with myself, George Cooke. And you can find me on socials here on Crazy Good Kung Fu, my alter ego. And a shout out for our Group A lobby over on the YouTube channel here. Remember to like and subscribe as well if you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. And the Group A will be brought to us by Nick Pautasso and Ryan Palmer. And of course, this is the MotorMotion E-Series, home to a premier sim racing league in Gran Turismo 7. Check us out on www.motormotioneseries.wordpress.com. Registrations are open for all of our events, including what will probably be the second season of our GT3 Championship. But first, let's focus on the current one. So today, we're looking great. It's looking sunny out there. I'm really excited to be bringing you guys exactly what's going to be going on. So it is 13 degrees down track, a little bit cool out there, a little bit of cloud cover, but it is beautiful. The sun is shining, and we got a little bit of humidity, but no rain on the forecast there. So we'll be going with the S08, humid, sunny, and cloudy weather today. So the team's title, very, very important. Scarborough Motorsport still in the lead of this championship. The fight is heating up between them. Only 20 points separate first position from second position, and that will be Gridline Racing. And their team is looking mighty. They've had some fantastic results in the last couple of races, and they've been on a charge. So they will be a fierce competitor. We're going to be watching out very carefully for Jeff Bruin and Wade Rushton in the Pro-Am and Am categories, as well as Matthew Joynson and Dylan Scarborough. Matthew Joynson, of course, won our race in round 9 at Autopolis with a dominating performance. It's going to be brilliant. It matters every single corner, every single lap, every single decision, how committed you are into the chase, how you're up the hill, how you're down the hill. It all matters today throughout every second of this 90-minute race. So another note here, of course, is third place Diffusion Race Engineering on the back of some fantastic results, but hot on the heels is Black Rose Racing and WTCR. So Black Rose Racing looking to see if they secure a podium position in the team's title. Looking over now at the Platinum and Gold Championships. This is the Elite and Pro categories in the Group A. They are very, very close as well. 4 points separating the Elite Championship and a little bit of a gap there for the Pro class. But today we are focusing in on the Silver Championship, and that is what we are watching today. So Pro-Am and Am categories respectively. Here's your entry list. Here's all the teams. Here's all the drivers. We'll be talking plenty about all the teams and all the drivers as we go through. Qualifying is just getting started, so I want to make sure I get through all of the information before we jump out there and check things out. But the standings, this is important. The standings today in the Pro-Am and Am categories. We've got Dean van der Zart leading our Pro-Am category on 150 points, and then second and third place. This is the team title equivalent in the Pro-Am class. Jeff Bruin sitting there in third position on 97 points, and Matthew Joynson on 117 points for Scarborough Motorsport. This is the battle for the team's title. Who can come out on top between these two drivers? And not only that, in the Am class, we have the same battle going on with Wade Rushton out to a very, very good lead here, but it can all be upset, and in that of Dylan Scarborough in his Porsche for Scarborough Motorsport. So the battle rages on for the entire grid, and the top 3 positions in both the Pro-Am and Am category are up for grabs. And of course, what are they racing for here today? It's not just glory, it's not just the championship, it's also a pair of very, very nice mechanics Player 1 sim gear driver's gloves, and every division winner will be getting a pair of these from our sponsor, Player1 Sim Gear, and we will bring you more about Player1 as we do head into the break between qualifying and the race. But now it is time to get on track. It's time to get out there and see what is going on with the championship, because this is going to get absolutely spicy. It does matter qualifying today. It matters not just a small amount, it matters an incredibly large amount. You've got to be absolutely on it today. And qualifying is going to really set the men aside from the boys and the women aside from the girls, as we do go on board now with Dean van der Zandt. So Dean is in the lead of the race for the Drivers' Championship at the moment in the Pro-Am class, and his Jaguar F-Type has been looking very, very strong recently. He nearly missed out on a third position last time at Autopolis. He ended up getting P2, taken away from him at the last point by Matthew Joinson. So the Scarborough Motorsport driver was looking very strong. But yes, we are here. It's Bathurst. It's a town. It's 200 kilometers west of Sydney, and this place has got history, folks. If you've ever watched any motorsport anywhere in the world, you know that this place has got history. And there's been motorcycle racing here. There's been Formula Ones here, not the actual Formula One, so to speak, but Formula 3, we had a brief period of time we had that here. But of course, the legendary Supercar Series, that is what happens here at Bathurst most often. And of course, the Bathurst 1000. It's absolutely massive in terms of the crowd that ends up here. We've got 100,000 people coming through here on a weekend. And it really does make all the difference, because the Australian fans and motorsports enthusiasts from across the globe absolutely love this place. And I'm one of them. I'm absolutely one of them. This is probably the pinnacle of motorsport here in terms of driver skill, talent, in terms of your confidence in the car and how well you know and understand what is going on with these cars. And of course, across our 10-round season, which has been going since early March, all of these drivers and teams have become intimately familiar with these cars because they've been doing a lot of driving of them. We've got BMWs, we've got Porsches, we've got Mercedes, we've got Jaguar F-Types, we've got an Aston Martin in there as well. So it's a great mix across the grid, and it has been a spectacular season so far to be part of. A real pleasure, of course, to be bringing you once again the Group B the Group B lobby commentary here from the Combox, and we do get a great little look from the Combox down the pit straight. You can hear the cars rushing past as they come into Murray's Corner and down into Hell Corner for T1, and a huge amount of change in altitude here for the cars, which can present some challenges in terms of air intake. The way that the car drives changes. It is absolutely brilliant. So there's 862 meters above sea level is the tallest point here at Mount Panorama. The longest straight of Mountain Straight is actually 1.1 kilometers as well. And I think we vary in height here by something like 200 or 300 meters. It's quite an incredible circuit as you come up the hill from Mountain Straight. You know, it's just a spectacular racetrack to be racing on. I do miss racing here. I'm very jealous of everyone that is on the grid, and 20 minutes of qualifying is going on in the background right now. We've had our first time set, and Dean van der Zandt has gone to the top of the timing tables, and he might not be there for too long. Jeff Bruin for Gridline Racing, the Valvoline sponsored BMW M6. He has gone second place with a very respectable 203.303. These guys and girls will be wanting to get those times down, hopefully into the 202s. That's about where things will probably peak out at a low 2 minute and 2 seconds. We'll see if we get there indeed. And yes, and welcome in to everyone in the grandstands as well. It has been a pleasure bringing you all the commentary this season, and hats off to all the drivers, all of our spectators, and all of our engineers and teams as well. What a season we have had here. It's been absolutely brilliant, and lots of stuff coming in from the grandstand. Thank you. Welcome in to everyone who is watching and listening tonight. I hope you have a fantastic time with this brilliant race tonight. We've got 90 minutes to hang out together, which is great. I'm going to bring you as much information about this circuit. Not that any of you guys need to probably know too much about this place. most people who understand and know what Bathurst is about understand a lot about the history, probably in some cases a lot more than I do. But I will be doing my best to bring you all the information. And looking down the grid now, we've got Mad Rick for Strike Race Deck. That's a great time for him. 3rd position he has got into with his Mercedes AMG. And then we've got Matthew Joynson. So he's the championship contender, Matthew Joynson. He's just been pushed out into 5th position there by Chop. So Sean Parker, a privateer, he is back in the mix this time for this fantastic race. And he's been missing a couple of rounds, unfortunately, Sean Parker, mainly due to other commitments in other leagues. But we know how quick he can be. He was an early contender in the championship in round 1 and 2, really taking the fight to Dean van der Zandt, who's been very, very dominant in the Pro-Am category. The AM category, of course, has heated up a lot with a lot of switcheroos between the 1st position. And Jeff Bruin goes purple. Jeff Bruin, oh, and then Dean van der Zandt takes it off him immediately, but a 2-minute 3-second 0.007, 0.007 there. I guess it's a lucky number for Jeff Bruin. Maybe he can be a James Bond today out there in the 18 car. But no, it is Dean van der Zandt who has taken the first 202, and it is quite the 202. And then right behind him, his challenger for the 1st position, it is going to be Matthew Joynson in the Porsche 911 RSR for Scarborough Motorsport. They're sponsored, I should say, by JB Hi-Fi, the Porsche 911 RSR. Fantastic stuff from them. They've got a great livery as well. So does this F-Type Jag we're watching right now. And we've got, we'll go down the grid and just make sure everyone's updated with what the standings are looking like currently. But the 202, 0.366 from Dean van der Zandt, unchallenged at this point. So we've got Dylan Scarborough. He's the owner of Scarborough Motorsport. He's done a 203.975. He's an AM class category driver. So currently, he has set the fastest time in the AM class. One of my favorite classes of racing, of course. These guys in AM class have a really great mix of skill, ability, and of course, you know, we usually like to say that they're not quite as quick as the Pro-Am guys. I think the difference really is actually more in consistency. We've seen Pro-Am drivers consistently at the top of the grid, of course, and whoa, that is a scary moment for the Porsche. Down the dipper he went. The Porsches are going to be very scary here. MR cars generally not doing very well when their tires lift off down the dipper, but you saw that Mercedes in front of him. I believe that is Tim Pears there. Much more planted on the ground. Big rear diffuser on the Porsche, but it's going to do nothing to help him when that mid-engine car starts to lift wheels off the ground. Very, very terrifying down the dipper. You've got to have a lot of confidence at this circuit. Towards the chase, these two go. We're going to be keeping an eye on Dylan Scarborough, of course, this race, because he is only 20 points behind Wade Rushton, who's currently leading the AM Championship. Wade Rushton is currently well down the grid in terms of his time, so he'll need to put something together. Then we've got Carver Foster here. She's in 7th position for NED Racing, the 666 car there, sponsored by Ned's Whiskey. One of my favorite cars, and the Aston Martin could be very strong today. We will see. Troy Britnell there for Black Rose Racing. That Mercedes AMG, geez, it sounds so good here at Bathurst. It's a match made in heaven. Beautiful sounding V8 car. And then we've got Wade Rushton. So he is currently 1st in the AM Championship, but currently 9th on the qualifying grid. So he's going to need to put in a much, much better lap. So far, he hasn't been able to put anything together. A 204.6 is his best lap. Yeah, he's going to really need to improve very, very quickly, although we do have still 12 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. So the guys and girls out there, they're going to get something in the order of 8 to 9, maybe a 10th lap in there as well, depending on if they have to come into the pits as well. So then we've got Monica Camilleri. She's a Pro-Am driver for NED's Racing, Super VT 2000. She's a YouTuber as well. Very, very cool person to hang out with, and she's been getting some great results recently, though a very unfortunate DNF last time out at Autopolis. She was running in 3rd position and looking for a P2 in the race, and then unfortunately had car issues and had to retire the car, which was absolutely gutting because she was absolutely on fire in Autopolis and doing very, very well for the NED Whiskey outfit. The Aston Martin V12 been looking very fierce in these last few rounds here in the Pacific region. Of course, we've been at Japan for the last couple of weeks, so about 4 or 5 weeks we've been spending in Japan. All the teams have been over there, first for Suzuka, and then we went to Autopolis, 2 fantastic circuits in the middle of Japan, and yeah, there was some brilliant, brilliant racing we had there between all the contenders for the championship. So far, her best, a 204.7. Can she improve? Yes, it is a 203.173. That's good enough for 7th, but she's nowhere near getting to the top of the grid right now. We've had a few improvements up at the top, a 202.270, currently the fastest time on track. Then we got Ricky Rick, Pro-Am driver for Strike Race Tech. And then Karma Foster, she's fallen down to 9th position now. So you see a little bit of traffic there. I think that's Matthew Joynson letting a few cars through. Then Troy Britnell, he's been, whoa, that was a bit scary there through the grate. And McPhilney Park through into Sulman Park. Very, very scary place to get a bit loose with the car. Through it goes. They have to go and turn into a ballerina down here. You have to dance the car all the way down, though. These FR cars, which the Mercedes is one of, is definitely a bit better down the hill. So then we've got Wade Rush, and he's fallen to 11th. He's got to hook a lap up as soon as possible for the championship lead here. I mean, we have a 90-minute endurance race next, so qualifying is not everything. You're not going to win this in qualifying. You're not going to win this in the first couple of corners of this race, but being qualified up the grid is going to be really important to get away strong and to really start securing your position here. So behind him we've got Richard Robinson there, passed by his teammate in Hellblazer, so the Diffusion Race Engineering guys, and the BMW M6. The Spotify liveried car, beautiful team from New Zealand, great guys as well. And then we've got Chris White. This is the teammate of Dean van der Zandt for the WTCR team, the Mobil 1 sponsored F-Type Jag. Another great car, sounds great as well. I do like the sound of this car, but he had a great result out recently. I think it was a P3 for him, so his first podium. Not only that, it was the first time he was up in the top 10 finishes, so the whole season was a bit of a disaster for him until of late, and he's really put a show on for us at Autopolis, a masterclass of strategy in the rain. And then we've got Tim Pears here at the bottom of the field currently. He's got a 205.225 to his name. But the number 9 car is going to have to pull some hats out of his bag. He's only 1/1000th of a second behind P14. But back at the top, Dean van der Zandt still on a charge, but only 2200ths of a second now between him and the privateer of Sean Parker. So great job there from Dean van der Zandt, but can he go quicker? That's the real question. We'll keep an eye on him now as he'll come across the line pretty soon through the chase. He goes, Sean Parker in the pits, Jeff Bruin in the pits, Mad Rick, Ricky Rick in the pits as well. So what can Dean do? He's coming up to Murray's Corner. Fantastic place here. I do remember watching the Lap of the Gods, and it was just something unbelievable, especially the entry into the last corner there, Murray's Corner, of course, renamed for the great Murray Walker, who set that lap, and it is a 2:11, so not a good lap there at all from Dean van der Zandt. He's 9 seconds off his own time and runs wide in Hell Corner. That is not how you want to start a lap here at Bathurst. Sean Parker we're on board with now, and I do like this livery, very similar to the Black Rose Racing guys, so it gets very confusing for me, so I've got to look at the car number. The 83 car, of course, Chops 1983 is his handle in game. Sean Parker has been proving that when he's on track and when he's able to make the races, he is a contender for the top 3 positions, and then behind him, Matthew Joynson, a 2:02.590. So it's fantastic stuff so far here in qualifying with 13.5 minutes through the race, through the qualifying so far. And purple goes Matthew Joynson. He's up by 0.164. We're going to stay on board with Matthew Joynson now, and unfortunately we're not going to be getting any onboard cameras during qualifying. That's all being saved for the main event, where we will have the Player 1 sim gear action replays at our fingertips, as well as the Player 1 sim gear onboards, where we're going to ask you guys to turn up your sound and enjoy an amazing few onboards with select drivers as they take you round for a full lap of Bathurst here tonight. And oh, he's clipped the wall, coming up the hill there, and through the grate he goes. That's going to cut that time down significantly, so just taking a little bit too much speed through that corner, and yeah, that's going to really compromise him on his lap. Through Sulman Park he goes. Let's see how he does in the dipper. This MR car, very difficult to control, and that's an example of it. Commentators courtesy say that is super unfortunate. Matthew Joynson goes round at the dipper, and that'll be, I think he's kept it out of the wall, so well done to him for keeping it out of the wall. But the MR cars are incredibly difficult to manage down this hill. You've got to be, as it's been mentioned before, a ballerina down here. You are dancing the car. The car wants to fall away from you. Your suspension is bottomed out completely. The tires, some of them are not even touching the track as you come down the dipper, and it's all about timing. Can you feel when the 4 tires hit the road? When can you put down the power? Can you judge it correctly? How much power do you give? How much brake do you give? It's a very tricky thing to get right. Of course, if you are using full brake down the hill, you are going to end up spinning, more or less like what we saw there with Matthew Joynson, and he'll go for another lap now and try and get himself up into the top 2 positions. He's not too far away, only 0.298 is the gap there, and remaining in qualifying is now only 5 minutes. So things are heating up here at the end of qualifying. We've got to keep an eye on the Gridline Racing BMW of Jeff Bruin in the 18 car. He's doing very, very well at the moment. He's going to be qualifying potentially ahead of Matthew Joynton if he can put a lap together. He's in the 202s, so he's in a 202.897. That is a fantastic lap from him. But he's going to need to improve to get himself ahead of Matthew Joynton. The real fight that's going on between him and Matthew Joynton is going to end up helping to determine the team's title. Only 20 points separating now the Gridline Racing team from the Scarborough's Motorsport team. So it really is all down to this race in the team's title, and every single driver from Gridline Racing across all 4 divisions, as well as of course our Pro-Am and Am categories, which you are on board right now, is going to make a difference here. Matthew Joynton, it's the same boat for him. It's been very interesting actually. I've got this up on my little timing screen here, a little bit of information for you, because it's been a real mix of results. So in the elite category, the Scarborough Motorsport guys are on top. They're doing really, really well. Hutton for Scarborough Motorsport, fantastic results, second last time out. Andrew Scott for Gridline Racing, he got 4th last time out, so an unusual result for him. But in the elite category, things are really competitive. We've got some incredibly quick drivers in that league. Then in the Pro League, you've got the Gridline Racing car of Taylor, who got 1st position and fastest lap. So Gridline Racing not doing so well in the elite category, but in pro category they're right ahead, because Griffo in the pro category for Scarborough Motorsport is 5th position. Then here in Pro-Am category we had Matthew Joynton getting 1st place with Jeff Bruin, who we're on board with right now, as I did just see an incredible time there from Dean van der Zaan. He's in the 201s. What a lap has Dean van der Zaan done. That puts him 0.3 now away from Sean Parker, who also improved. No, he didn't actually. Only his 3rd lap was actually the lap. So we're going to stay on board here with Matthew Dean van der Zaan. What a lap! Absolutely astonishing. That's brilliant. So where was I? I was talking about the results. So Pro-Am, Jeff Bruin, who we were on board with moments ago, was 5th place. And then in the Am category, Wade Rushton for GLR Gridline Racing was 2nd position, with Dylan Scarborough, the owner of Scarborough Motorsports, in 3rd. So each division going back and forth is a switcheroo between Scarborough Motorsport and Gridline Racing. Overall, they scored about the same amount of points last time out, and that's why they're so close now in the team's title. So we're going to be focusing on that during the 90 minutes race, and only 2 minutes remain here at qualifying for Bathurst. Remember, you are watching the GT3 Championship, sponsored by Player1 Sim Gear for the MotorMotion E-Series, and welcome in to everyone who is in the grandstand in chat. Feel free to ask any questions that you want, and I'll try and get back to you if I can, but my focus is going to be solidly and squarely on the racing today. It is absolutely peak stuff that is going on around this track. So currently the order is Dean van der Zaan in 1st position, Sean Parker in 2nd, followed by Matthew Joynton in 3rd, and then we've got Jeff Bruin, who's just behind Dean van der Zaan right now, in 4th, and that rounds out your top 4. We've got Matt Kutcher, good lap from him, in 5th position, and then Dylan Scarborough currently leading the Am class in qualifying, so he's currently in P6 overall. Dean van der Zaan has backed out of this lap, so he won't be going for that one. He's going to time it maybe to try and get 1 more lap in only. Monica Camilleri in 7th position. She's just behind the Am class driver of Dylan Scarborough. And then we've got Mad Rick. So the Am class driver of Dylan Scarborough, he set an absolutely mega time there, because the next person in the Am class in 2nd position on overall for Am class is actually Karma Foster, who's in P9 at the moment. So where is Wade Rushton? This is the question I've got. Where is Wade Rushton right now? Even Hellblazer is really, really struggling out there today. Can't get his BMW round in any kind of decent amount of time, which is really not good for him. So Aiden Sampson on board in the 21 car. He's going to be very unhappy with where he's sitting right now, I'll be honest with you. Not going to be a happy chappy with that result right now. So a 202.555 there. Not a great time, unfortunately. It's not going to be great. Looks like Wade Rushton is in 10th position right now. So as it stands right now, he'll be starting 4 positions behind his championship rival in Dylan Scarborough. Robbo Robinson goes with a 203.591. It's not a bad time at all. But Karma Foster will continue to hold the NED's racing position in P9. The Aston Martin looking strong. I think she's got Matthew Joynton or Dylan Scarborough. She's got a Porsche behind her. That's what I can tell you right now, based on the cameras that we're able to get. But Wade Rushton, this is the big news right now. He's having a shocker of a qualifying. Maybe my broadcast team can take us over to Wade Rushton. Oh, that was close. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Up to the cutting, and that is not a place you want to be lapping a car who's going slow. I don't know who that was. I think it might have been Richard Robinson, but that was crikey. That was scary. 20 minutes has elapsed, so Wade Rushton will not get round for another lap. He's stuck in P10, so third overall for AM class. That is not ideal for him. Got Dean van der Zaan. He's going for one more lap. Sean Parker's just come across the line for his last one, not improving. He'll hold on to P2 at the moment. Then it's Matthew Joynson. He's coming round for another lap as well. Let's stay on board with him, see if he can improve. No, the broadcast team seems to think we want to stay on board with Dean van der Zaan. So we'll stay on board with the 132 car here, the F-Type Jag. He's down by 10 seconds. He's not going to improve at all. So all eyes now on Matthew Joynson. And I think behind him we've got a few cars still running as well. Let's check the split times as he comes down through to the chase. Big braking zone, hard on the brakes. Turn it in when you've got the car slowed down. Careful of the outrun because you're going to be right there on the grass if you're not careful. Let's see what he can do. Into Murray's corner. Out of the way, gets Dean van der Zaan. He knows that he's got a very, very fast Matthew Joynson behind. Nearly got absolutely squirrely there. 202.4, and that is not good enough to improve significantly. Behind them, we've got Jeff Bruin. He's going to be locked in there. Matt Kutcher here, he's done as well. The only two left is Dylan Scarborough, and I think we might have Monica Camilleri out there as well. We'll keep on board. That's a Diffusion Race Engineering BMW in the background, who has finished his lap, and Dylan Scarborough has backed out. He knows he's not going to improve. Wow, what a qualifying we have had today. Very interesting grid. This is going to really set the scene for what's going to be a fantastic 90 minutes. So we will jump over to our break screens, and we will talking about the qualifying as it is, and we will start, in fact, talking about what is coming up. So thank you all for joining us today. I'm already absolutely astonished. We've got a couple of minutes of breaks, so as we wait for the 90 minutes endurance race to begin, I'm going to throw you over to our sponsors video, Player1 Sim Gear.
Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 Sim Gear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 Sim Gear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we will be going racing in about 9 minutes. course, the teams need a little bit of time to debrief from what's happened in qualifying and look in detail the race, the qualifying they've just had, and get their strategies all sorted. So, just having a few things happen in the background as well, but we are going to be racing in about 9 minutes here. So make sure you stay tuned, but go and get yourself a nice cup of tea, a beer, whatever suits your fancy, because we're going to be going racing for 90 minutes, and you're not going to want to miss a single minute of it. We've got a little bit of a headwind here today as well, which is going to help people with speed down the Conrod Straight, but that's not going to be very helpful, as you do get a lot of corners that are going to be going against that direction of wind. And yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting, this race. Make sure you do stay tuned. We are going to be on board with a lot of racing very, very soon. So we're going to be doing our Player 1 Sim Gear action replays and Player 1 Sim Gear on boards today. So we will have a period of time where you'll be absolutely advised to turn up your sound and go on board for a full lap with certain people. I haven't figured out exactly who we're going to be going on board with yet during the race, but I guarantee we will be going live with that on board. It's going to be very, very exciting. I'm looking forward to those little onboards because they're quite insightful. They give you a real good sense about what it's like driving here at this fantastic circuit. Of course, 23 corners here at Bathurst, the longest straight, 1.1 kilometers, and we are 200 kilometers west of Sydney in the town of Bathurst. And it was actually built here in the 1900s. We've had racing back here. It's actually a public road most of the time. So if you really, really want to, and you're close to Sydney, not that 200 kilometers is close. Well, it is in terms of New Zealand kilometers, New Zealand distance, I should say. But in terms of Australia, I think that's a relatively short distance. But yeah, if you can go for a little drive up the hill if you really want to, go for a walk, enjoy the scenes, go and potentially get into a fight with a kangaroo. If you are so inclined, as I know some Aussies are, the rest of you will probably just run away or stare indifferently at the kangaroo. I know that's what I do when I get to the top of the hill, and yeah, it really makes things interesting. So, a little bit of information about the race today. We've got racing soft tyres as the required type change, and that means you're going to have to use the softs at least once, which is no problem for anyone here during 90 minutes. The 90-minute race, of course, it's going to be a real challenge for all these cars. You're going to have problems with the cars throughout 90 minutes. You're going to need to pit. What are the pit strategies that are going to be involved? Well, let's brainstorm some now, because I think while we would expect most of the teams to end up with the mandatory tyre all the way through, and that would be the soft tyre all the way through, in fact, we're probably going to end up seeing a mix of the medium and the hard compounds as well. Potentially some fuel-saving strategies over the course of 90 minutes. The more that you can save the fuel, the more you will avoid being in the pit lane, and that can be absolutely critical here at the mountain. More time you spend out on track, of course, the better. It means that you can gain track position on your opponents. Gain positions on track is the best way to do it, though there are very few places to overtake at this fantastic circuit. And of course, you know, if you're lucky enough, you might be living quite close as well. So do let us know in the chat if you are living close to this fantastic circuit. It's always nice to know. But we'll take you around. We had the fantastic intro video compiled by someone called Dave. He's been fantastic, allowing us to use that video with a bit of recompilation for our MotorMotion E-Series here today. About 5 minutes ago until the race starts, so we'll just quickly take you around and give you an idea of all the names at this fantastic circuit. And first of all, you're at the main straight. This is where the commentators' box is. We can get a fantastic look across the entire grid as they start the race. Will be a rolling start procedure, as always, which makes it nice and easy to get away and ensures we don't have any chaos off the start line. That is called the main straight, and then we're into turn one. That's Hell Corner, aptly named, because if you run wide, you are literally going to hell. You are going to run into the gravel. It's going to slow you down. It's going to spin you around. Then up the mountain straight, the longest straight here, 1.1 kilometers into what is the defining corner of the start of this lap, and that is Griffin's Bend. Very tricky right-hander. You're coming in at somewhere close to 250 to 270 kilometers an hour, hard on the brakes, and then lifting off, trail braking through, running nice and wide over the curb on the exit, and then powering up as fast as you can early on the throttle to get up this huge hill that is Mount Panorama. Then you're coming into turn 3 and turn 4, the cutting. It's commonly known as a very tricky left-hander, a compound corner into an even tighter left-hand corner. Very tricky to get right, and the track starts to undulate quite a lot. So you're off camber, the car is unbalanced as you go into the cutting and out, and that means you've got to be very, very careful with the power application at that point. But as soon as you can, as soon as all 4 wheels are on the ground, you put metal to the floor and you get that car moving, because the run all the way up through Quarry Corner, turn 5 and 6, is all about bravery and how much speed you can carry, because you are flat all the way through Reed Park, Frog Hollow, through the Great, up through Sulman Park, that's up through turn 7, 8, 9, up to Filmony Park, which is one of the trickiest corners. You're entering that at over 260 kilometers an hour for some cars, and you've got to be absolutely on point during that corner, because to your right, as you exit McPhillamy Park, you end up in a huge gravel track. Great spectating location, of course. A couple of big grandstands at that area of the track. And then you're going into the downhill section. And this is where things get interesting. As you go through Skyline, you're going to go through turn 11 and down through the S's to the most famous corner here, the Dipper, the most dangerous part of this track. The car is trying to get away from you. It's trying to kill you at every single second, every single moment. It wants to take the car and the grip away from you. You've got to dance it like a ballerina down the hill, but carry as much speed as possible through the Dipper, because then you're coming up to Forest Elbow. The car is going to feel like it's on ice skates. The track rapidly drops away from you, and no matter how much you brake, you're going to find that you're going to understeer through that corner. But you need to set yourself up well, because then you're going to be going down through turn 19 onto the Conrod Straight, the back straight of this circuit, and that'll take you through into turn 20, a very, 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 very fast right-hander that you'll take at around 270 to 280 kilometers an hour. This is the fastest point on the circuit as you come down through the hill. You're carrying all of that momentum, all of that speed, and now you're entering the chase. You get the foot on the floor, you line it up, you get it stable, you hit that brake, and you hold it as hard as you possibly can. And then once you're ready to go, you lift off and you turn through the chase, turn 21 into turn 22. Don't run wide, do not cut the track, and then you're down for the last part of the circuit in turn 23 into Murray's Corner, the famous corner, and made famous, of course, by the Lap of the Gods for the Supercar Series, and that will take you down to the pits straight. Of course, just before you get to Murray's Corner, you do have the pit lane exit there. And I will also mention that the penalties will be served on the Conrod Straight. So you do not want to pick up a penalty here at the Bathurst circuit, whether that's for going wide on a corner, cutting a corner, hitting barriers, hitting other cars. You do not want to get on the wrong side of the stewards here today for the 90-minute race. It all matters. It matters a massive, massive, massive amount. And it's all to play for. We've got a big championship fight brewing between GLR, it's Gridline Racing, and Scarborough Motorsport for the team's title, only 20 points between them. And then we've got Diffusion Race Engineering, who are also fighting for third position, or at this stage, fighting to keep third place. The New Zealand team would be looking very, very happy if they ended up with a podium position in the team's title. And then, of course, we've got Black Rose Racing in fourth position, who are looking very, very keen. They're on 383 points. And in third place, Diffusion Race Engineering are on 388.5. So as you can imagine, it is getting very, very close between these two teams. The third position there, the podium position for the team's title, is up for grabs. And that's why we're going to be focusing on those four teams today. The drivers we'll be looking out for will be Matthew Joynson, Dylan Scarborough, Jeff Bruin, and Wade Rushton, Matt Kutcher and Troy Britnell, as well as Aidan Sampson and Robbo Robinson. These 8 drivers are going to determine the team's title today. And between them, we have some Drivers' Championship contenders as well. Looks like we've got WTCR. Dean van der Zandt is out to a great lead in the Pro-Am Championship. Unlikely that people are going to catch him in this tournament. So it's all set and done unless he has an absolute disaster. But he has qualified in first position today. So let me take you through our qualifying grid at the moment. We've got Dean van der Zandt in first position on the front row of the grid. And then we've got Sean Parker. He'll be he's the privateer on the Mercedes AMG. Then we've got Matthew Joynson in third place. Beside him on the second row of the grid is Jeff Bruin. So all Pro-Am class drivers at the top here. Then we've got on the third row of the grid, Matt Kutscher for Black Rose Racing in the Mercedes AMG. And then joining him on the third row of the grid will be Dylan Scarborough in the 911 Porsche for his own team. So he is currently qualified top of the AM class. And looks like we're about to go onto the grid. So time to go racing, folks. It is time to get our skates on. Let's go down to the grid and check out what's going to happen, because we're about to start 90 minutes here at Bathurst. This is the kind of circuit that makes or breaks drivers. This is going to be the circuit that makes or breaks the team title, the Drivers' Championship, and everything. And the rolling start procedure has begun, so we're about to cross the line. The lights are going green for round 10, the final round of the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship. 90 minutes at Bathurst starts now. Let's go. We'll see them go down to the Hell Corner. First of all, great start there from Dean van der Zart. He's off to a fantastic start. Sean Parker behind him, and Matthew Joinson, the qualifying grid, not evening out at all at this point. They're all in the same order as they started. And for the first time of many times today, down Mountain Straight we go. Dean looking to warm up his tyres as we go up the hill for the first time in this race. I'm so looking forward to this. Good luck to all the championship competitors today. And under a bit of pressure already is Sean Parker. Matthew Joinson is really keen to get past him. He's going to have a look through the cutting. No, there's nowhere to overtake round here. You either send it or you don't. Behind them, Jeff Bruin in fourth position, hot on the heels of the Porsche at the moment. This is the battle we're looking out for. Third and fourth position between Dylan Scarborough Motorsport and Gridline Racing. Oh, Matthew Joinson there looking very, very squiggly on the opening parts of this lap. He hasn't got his tyres up to temperature just yet, so he's going to need to do a little bit of work to hold off Jeff Bruin behind him. Behind them there, they've got Matt Kutscher as well. So Matt Kutscher also looking fierce in his Black Rose Racing Mercedes AMG. He's right on the heels of Jeff Bruin, and Jeff Bruin going a little bit wide through the dipper. That's not ideal. It's going to bring Matt Kutscher into play here, and Dylan Scarborough holding on to the back of him at the moment. So Dylan Scarborough and Matthew Joinson, the two yellow Porsches on grid. This is what's going to make or break the team's title here. We're going to keep a very, very close eye on them today. Good lap so far from all the competitors. No wild dives. I think we might have had some action down the back of the grid. We will go and try and catch a glimpse of that if we possibly can. And I will also do one thing here, which is to get rid of some information. We'll get rid of the telemetry for now. We will bring the telemetry back. Matt Kutscher looking to have a move. And it looks like Matthew Joinson has made a move there for second position, and he's got it. So he doesn't want to let Dean van der Zart run away with this. He's clearly thinking that he's got a little more speed on him than Sean Parker just behind him. Jeff Bruin now really, really keen to get past Sean Parker as well. He doesn't want to be held up. He knows he needs to be ahead of all the Porsches today. That's going to really help him in the team's title. Gridline Racing looking to take first position in the overall team's title. They're only 20 points away from it, so they've got to be ahead of the Porsche drivers today, and that's exactly what Matthew Joinson and Dylan Scarborough do not want. They know if they can get a bunch of points here early on, they are going to be in contention to win the championship. Dylan Scarborough is making a move. No, he thinks better of it on Matt Kutscher. Probably a good idea, because you do not want to be overtaking through Griffin's Bend. It'll cost you a lot of time as you go up the hill. Monica Camilleri behind them is staying close. So for NED Racing, she's doing a fantastic job so far. I can see Karma Foster, her teammate, in the distance, not too far away. Dylan Scarborough is all over the back of the Mercedes AMG of Matt Kutscher, so he's going to be looking to try and get ahead. Oh, scraping the wall is Matt Kutscher. That's not going to help him at all. So Dylan Scarborough going to be looking opportunistic in this early part of the race. We're only 3 minutes in. 87 minutes to go in this race, and what a fantastic start we've had. We've got everyone still reasonably close on the grid. Two battle packs starting to open up though. We've got Maverick as part of this opening battle pack, plus Karma Foster, who's doing a great job of holding on. The lead of the battle pack down here is the AM-class driver for Strike Race Tech. It is Tim Pears. He's holding on at the moment. I don't think anyone's had any crashes, although we do have, who's that down in last place? That's Richard Robinson. It looks like he has, in fact, had a bit of an incident early on, though. He might be choosing to run a bit of a slow strategy. We will keep an eye on him. Troy Britnell in 14th position in the 55 car, falling off a little bit of Chris White in the F-Type Jag. Wade Rushton, though, this is the real news right now. He is falling behind already. This is not ideal for the current leader of the AM Class Championship for Gridline Racing. He needs to be way up further towards the pointy end of this race. And Dean van der Zaan, speaking of pointy ends, he is not getting away from Matthew Joynson. Matthew Joynson obviously wants to win this race, maximize the points he can get, and if you take fastest lap today, you will get, I believe, 4 points, as it is a double points round this time out for the last round of the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship. Of course, our sponsor Player1 SimGear have put up a pair of racing gloves for all the winners of the Division championships. So Player1 SimGear, of course, they're Australian-based, Melbourne-based, in fact, sim racing and sim racing gear provider. You can find them and their products all on the www.p1simgear.com.au. Fantastic stuff they've got at the best prices. You can get the best gear, so go give them a check out as well. And they are proudly sponsoring our race here today. And this is getting very spicy at the top. Oh, Dean van der Zaan. That is what you do not want to do at the cutting. He applied the power just a little bit early. He understands that he's got a very, very quick Porsche behind him, and he's run wide as well into the grate. That's going to give Matthew Joynson a chance. And oh no, he's hit the wall. Matthew Joynson got opportunistic there. This is not an overtaking position. Jeff Bruin just behind Matt Kutscher. This is getting really, really interesting here now. Oh, he's going to look for a move into the top of the S's. No, thinks better of it. That's not an overtaking space at all. You've got to wait till you get past Forest Elbow. Down the Conrod Straight is going to be the best place to look for an overtake as you go into the chase. We'll keep an eye on this amazing fight that's going on right now. Jeff Bruin is also understanding of the fact that his teammate is well down in 12th position at the moment, and he's going to need to pick up a lot of points today to really make up for that result. So Wade Rushton just not on form at the moment. We saw him come with some great results out in Japan, but he's so far not replicating that success. This is going to get spicy, though. This is going to get very, very spicy. Matt Kutscher keen to get past. Will he go for a big send into the chase? Oh, they only just get it slowed down. Wow, millimeters apart. That's brilliant stuff. Great car control from all of these guys at the chase. That was astonishingly close. And Jeff Bruin managed to get it slowed down. And oh, that's a very opportunistic move there from Matt Kutscher. That was not ideal. 3 wide. They're going now. Porsche on the inside. Mercedes and then a BMW 3 wide in the hell corner. This is not going to end well. Come on. Oh, Jeff Bruin, what a move there. Holds his nerve and takes the 18 car around the outside to regain 4th position. And Dylan Scarborough has gotten himself ahead of Matt Kutscher as a result of that battle. Great stuff there. I think Matt Kutscher might have been thinking, oh, it was a bit cheeky through Murray's corner. I better give this up and not challenge Hells too much. And that's exactly what happened. He'll be under pressure now from Monica Camilleri, who's right on his bumper. This little battle pack here going great, but we've got action up the top because Matthew Joynson through the Griffin's Bend has found a way through, and side by side they're going up the hill. This is astonishing stuff from these two racers. Matthew Joynson has made it work. He's up into the lead of the race. Great stuff there from the Dylan Scarborough's Motorsport driver. That is brilliant stuff. That is not a usual place for an overtake. He obviously got a great lunge into Griffin's Bend, and that gave him the run side by side up the hill into the cutting, but around the outside of the cutting. That was a fantastic move there from the Porsche driver, and Dean van der Zaan is not going to be happy with that one bit. Jeff Bruin, oh, he goes a little bit wide into the S's. He's wide into the dipper now. That's going to compromise him down the hill. Oh, sideways he goes. He's going to lose positions to both Matt Kutscher and Dylan Scarborough. Oh dear, yeah, one little move that can compromise you down the S's. It's going to compromise you down the whole hill. That's exactly what we saw there for Jeff Bruin. He's just lost 2 positions as he goes down the hill. Not ideal at all. Now into the class of the Aston Martin of NED's Racing and NED's Whiskey Racing. Check this out. They are currently P7 and P8 in this race. Carla Foster is doing a brilliant job holding on here and keeping Ricky Rick in the Mercedes behind her. She is doing a fantastic job here for NED's Whiskey. So I hope that they can continue this great run of form. A little bit further back in the field, we do have a few others. They're a little bit spread out now. I do believe we still have we've got, well, I need to find where Wade Rushton is. Oh no, Wade Rushton has fallen back to the bottom of the grid here. Oh, look how much he's struggling. I think he's had a major issue during this lap. He set a 27, 2-minute 27 the previous lap. That is not a good lap time at all. So that's not because he's driving all the way around. That's because he's had an accident somewhere around this last lap. The 88 car That is a disaster so far. He's going to have to pull out some strategy magic. He's still a minute behind, as we do see Sean Parker now making a move on Dean van der Zaan, side by side almost through Griffin's Bend. Good stuff there around the outside for Sean Parker. So as I understand it, we are about to go on board and have a Player 1 sim gear on board. Oh, that was Matt Kutcher in the back getting very squiggly. Jeff Bruin behind him will look for an opportunity to overtake, but we are going to go on board with Dylan Scarborough. He's the leader of the AM class category at the moment, so please enjoy as we do turn up the sound for this fantastic onboard. Here we go. That was our Player 1 sim gear on board. What a fantastic camera shot that is. I was absolutely fascinated watching it. Purple in Sector 2 goes Dylan Scarborough, and great driving from him. He's managed to get past Dean van der Zaan through Hell Corner. So he's now up into the podium positions as the leader of Scarborough Motorsport. This is a great result so far. It's exactly what they've been planning, exactly what these guys want. They know that with these kinds of results in the Pro-Am and AM category, they can seal out the team's title if they get even a half-average result in the Elite and Pro categories. They know that this is going to make a huge difference in the race. Jeff Bruin, the Gridline Racing contender, behind them, still stuck in 6th position after losing himself down the dipper, and that did not do him any favors. But Dean van der Zaan, I've been thinking a little bit about strategy and what's going on, because I suspect we've got a few who might be fuel saving, as far as I understand it. Everyone here is on the racing soft tire, but we could be seeing some pit stops sometime in the next 8 to 10 minutes. Of course, we're only 12.5 minutes through this race at the moment, and fastest lap there goes to Dylan Scarborough. So he's on a real charge at the moment. It's putting a lot of pressure on these Pro-Am drivers, and he's the AM class leader at the moment. In second place in the AM class is actually Karma Foster down in 8th position, so she is having a brilliant race so far. 8th position overall, but P2 in the AM class championship. And look, we've got side-by-side action here. Matthew Joynson got a terrible run. Side-by-side they go into Griffin's Corner. There's a little bit of contact between the two, but staying respectful. They are going to go side-by-side now up the hill. Crikey, Nora, that's not where you want to be side-by-side. Matthew Joynson has to concede the position there to Sean Parker, but he's right on the rear bumper as they go through the race here for the 7th time. We are on lap 7, of course, so the battle rages on here at the top of the grid. Absolutely fascinating stuff between all these drivers, and oh, that's a touch on the wall from Sean Parker. He's been pretty bad there so far. He's hit the wall a few times. It's going to start to bring in some damage on his car at some point if he keeps that up. But the Mercedes looking very, very planted here today. And Dylan Scarborough and Matthew Joynson now in P2 and P3. Still a lot of action going on behind them, as we do have Matt Kutscher with Monica Camilleri right on his tail. She has actually overtaken Jeff Bruin. So Jeff Bruin for Gridline Racing is falling off the pace, sadly, here. He's now down into 7th position. He was originally up in P4. So really not ideal for Gridline Racing. They know that every position is going to make a huge difference in this double points round here for the MotorMotion E-Series Player 1 SimGear GT3 Championship. So the battle for the team's title on the line. Now, in terms of strategy, I think it would be sensible at some point for someone to think about going onto the medium tires. And wow, what a move there from Jeff Bruin, late on the brakes through the chase. Gets the position back from Monica Camilleri. Great move there. And to avoid contact with the cars ahead, he's proven that he's got incredible skill into that last corner. And oh, Monica Camilleri, God no! Huge contact there. She's gone incredibly deep. And that has put a couple of cars into the gravel. Oh, Monica Camilleri is in this gravel. She's stuck. She has, unfortunately, I think, had to DNF on this race. That is so unfortunate. And Dean van der Zant was also involved in that incident. So Monica Camilleri, that might have been some sort of car failure, brake failure at that point. We'll see if we can catch that on the instant replay. Let's go back now and see if we can catch it. So here we go. So we do see the send that's going to happen right now. Oh, just on the inside, she's just, I think the car has had a massive failure there. She hasn't been able to slow it down. It's just gone the wrong direction, sadly. Very unfortunate from her there. Crikey, Nora, that is going to make for a big impact, because that's Dean van der Zant now well down the field. Matt Kutscher took a hit as well. So both of those chaps are now going to be struggling in this race, probably holding some damage as well. So not ideal from either of them. That is going to give some very, very interesting dynamics to this race overall. Matthew Joynson, of course, now 2.4 seconds the gap to him, to his P1. That is Sean Parker. So our privateer, for the first time in a while, back up onto the top of the grid here. Very, very interesting. But in P2 and P3, that is Scarborough Motorsport. All this action has actually brought Jeff Bruin back into contention. He's now back up to P4. So that was an absolutely massive incident there from Monica Camilleri. I get the feeling it was a massive failure in the car. And we're checking, I'm checking the comms down in the pit lane, see if I can hear anything. Oh, Jeff, just careful there, mate. You're going to get the tires very, very dirty if you do that. And yes, I've just heard it now over the radio. NED Racing has confirmed, unfortunately, a massive failure in not only the brakes, but in the steering column. So both the steering column and the brakes went at the same time, not as a result of driver error. They've had some problems with that in the past. Autopolis was one of those where the steering column just started to lose out on them a little bit. And I was talking to them earlier. That has been a problem there. We've got it round. That is Dylan Scarborough. Dylan Scarborough has gone round at Murray's corner. He's going to drop down the order massively. Dean van der Zant comes in for his first pit stop. Okay, things are starting to switch up now. Be interested to see what tyre Dean van der Zant goes out on. It's going to make quite a difference to the overall race. So Dylan Scarborough, he has gone and really centred at Murray's corner, and that unfortunately has caused him to have a massive spin there. Behind him now is going to be Aidan Sampson for Diffusion Race Engineering, and then we've got Tim Pears for Strike Race Tech down in 9th position, and then Troy Britnell for Black Rose Racing, the 55 car. Beautiful livery for the Black Rose Racing guys and girls. They're a great team they've got going, and very happy to have them here in the MotorMotion E-Series as well. And then we've got Richard Robinson as well for Diffusion Race Engineering. So Diffusion Race Engineering and Black Rose Racing are in contention as well for the team's title P3 finish. So it'll be very interesting to see if Aidan Sampson can get up ahead of Troy Britnell. He's gonna need to, because that's going to make a difference in terms of the points overall. Dean van der Zant has come back out on the soft tyres, as I understand it, so potentially going there and getting some damage fixed up after that incident with Monica Camilleri. So very unfortunate for the Ned's Whiskey Racing driver there, Monica Camilleri. She's had a huge car failure that has resulted in a massive accident at Murray's corner and scraping the wall there up through the grate. That is not ideal there from Dean van der Zandt. Cold tyres probably to blame, but Sean Parker out front doing very, very good at the moment. He's got a 3.8 second lead over Matthew Joynson, who I think is starting to struggle just a little bit on his tyres. He wasn't involved in that contact at Murray's corner earlier on, so he's good to go, setting consistent lap times in the 2:05s. Of course, very difficult to get into the low 2-minute laps here when you're on such high fuel. 60 litres is what these cars start with, so you either want to be fuel saving quite a bit, which is what I suspect that Dean van der Zandt might be doing, or might have been doing. A little bit of action back here between Matt Kutscher and Jeff Bruin. Matt Kutscher has been under a little bit of pressure here, but this is a great result for the Black Rose Racing outfit. They're going to be needing to get these points massively, because the next person who's in contention for their championship place is the Diffusion Race Engineering car of Aidan Sampson, who's sitting down there in 8th position. So very important for Matt Kutscher to finish high up the grid here today, because those could be the 5 points separating him and his team from a P3. That is going to make all the difference. They just needs to keep it consistent, keep it on the tarmac. And that's a very, very slow moving Matthew Joynson. Something has happened to Matthew Joynson as he's come up the hill. These MR cars very, very dicey. Unfortunately, sometimes up the hill, Jeff Bruin can be looking to get past him. So the fight is back on between GLR and Scarborough Motorsport. I believe we have an instant replay of what's happened. So he's gone a little bit wide there. He's holding on to some damage as well from early in the race. I'm not quite sure where he's picked that up. And he's completely lost it at the cutting. So coming into the cutting, he's just hit the brake a little bit too much, and that has sent him absolutely flying into the wall. Now he's really, really struggling for grip out there. He's probably going to be overtaken very, very soon by Jeff Bruin behind him. Crikey, but yes, as we said earlier, poor NED Racing, they had a P7, P8 there, but now actually elevated up into P6 is Karma Foster. So Karma Foster having a great outing so far in her Aston Martin. I did hear from NED Racing they're not expecting her car to have any difficulties this race. She's had no problems with the car. It's been Monica's car, sadly, that's had a few problems, and they've tried replacing the steering inputs, they've tried replacing the brakes and all that, but unfortunately today it all came loose. The brakes failed, the steering column failed, it all just went and disappeared on her, sadly. And it's not surprising, you know, these cars get really brutalized here at Bathurst. It's brutal on the cars, it's brutal on the drivers, and the cars get really, really shaken up. So unfortunately for her, her car's just gone, and fortunately for Matt Kutscher and Dean van der Zandt also took them out a little bit as well. But Matthew Joynson, he's had a huge incident. He's carrying damage on the right front of his car. It's going to make it very, very difficult into corners like the cutting, where we saw him crash earlier on and pick up even more damage. We saw how squiggly the car was. I'm surprised that Jeff Bruin behind him wasn't able to make a move. Jeff Bruin's been doing good. He's been keeping it consistent for the most part. He's been overtaken a few times and done some brilliant overtakes into the chase. But these three teams here that we see ahead of us, Matt Kutscher for Black Rose Racing, Scarborough Motorsport in the yellow Porsche, and Gridline Racing, the beautiful livery BMW there, sponsored by Valvoline. They are the championship contenders right now for P2, P3, and P1. The next championship contender down there is P8. So second overall. Sorry, this is really interesting now, because we've got Karma Foster, who has managed to get ahead of Dylan Scarborough. Dylan Scarborough had an awfully nasty spin at Murray's corner earlier on a couple of laps ago. He was leading the AM class here, but now Karma Foster has made it into the lead of the AM class championship. This is the first time she's led an AM class grid during the race. So the 666 car finding some luck here at Bathurst. We know from her, she's done a few interviews, that she's very, very keen on this track, and she's been feeling that the Aston Martin has been suiting her driving style this entire season. A few unfortunate results throughout the season, but overall Karma Foster has been an absolute star for NED Racing, and you know, one of two female drivers in the GT3 Championship. So you've got to give her some props, because she has done an incredible job for NED Racing, I should say. She's just holding into the slipstream of Ricky Rick ahead in the Mercedes. That's going to really help her. So we do have a yellow flag. Yellow flag is out. Who is that on track? That is Matthew Joynson once again. Oh no, Matthew Joynson is having a disaster. Can he get it into the pits? I don't know. Through comes Aidan Sampson, and that's a late lunge into the pits. That could be a pit lane cut penalty as well. We're going to go back and have a little look at how this happened. So Jeff Bruin looking up the outside there, no contact as far as I can tell. Oh, Matthew Joynson has just gotten too far on the power, and Jeff has run wide as well. Oh dear, that is a disaster for Matthew Joynson. He's going to have to come into the pits, and he has. And Jeff Bruin as well has decided to come into the pits as well. So the grid is starting to get mixed up now. Sean Parker still out there on slightly worn softs, but he's running low on fuel now. Matt Kuchar behind him. These Mercedes looking very, very good, because now 1, 2, 3, the top 3 at the moment are in fact all Mercedes. So they'll be very happy in the Mercedes team garages at the moment. We will bring you some more telemetry at some point soon. But I am hearing that we may be going on for another Player 1 onboard lap very, very soon. In fact, I hear that we are going on board for one right now. Let's jump on board, turn up your headphones, and have a listen to this amazing V8 here on board now with Strike Racetech's Ricky Rick. Fantastic onboards here from the Mercedes-AMG. The Strike Racetech driver of Ricky Rick. Maybe a little bit conservative through some parts of the track, but overall looking very, very strong. We do have a battle pack starting to evolve here now, and down in 7th position. So those cars at the top have yet to do a pit stop. But down here, Jeff Bruin has pitted. Behind him, Dean van der Zant has pitted. Behind him, Dylan Scarborough has pitted. So Matthew Joynson, having had a massive, massive few incidents, sadly for him, has really, really fallen off things. And the likes of Karma Foster, Aiden Sampson, the 2 Diffusion Race Engineering guys, really benefiting from that. So the BMWs here looking very, very strong as well. But these guys for Diffusion Race Engineering going to need to pull some hats out of the cats out of their hat if they're going to get up ahead and get towards the pointy end of the grid where Matt Kuchar is currently pitting. So both Sean Parker and Matt Kuchar, the race leaders at the moment, both pitting. Ricky Rick is going to go through, and provisionally he'll be up into the race lead. Looks like he'll be coming into the pits at some point in the next few laps. Karma Foster leading our AM class championship in this race. She is now in the pits as well. So Aiden Sampson now also up into P2. He's about 6 seconds off the back of Mad Rick at the moment for Strike Racetech. But the Diffusion Race Engineering car here is going to pull some time in, I suspect, on Ricky Rick during the next few laps. Out of the pits comes our provisional race leader in Sean Parker. So he's actually stayed out and gotten way ahead of Dean van der Zant. Dean van der Zant has decided to continue through. He's got Matt Kuchar that he needs to catch up with, but the gap is pretty significant now. It's opened up to about 6 seconds. And he's 30 seconds off the leader with a pit stop in hand. Behind him, Jeff Bruin about 3 seconds behind. Jeff will need to do some catching up here. He was looking like he could stay ahead of Dean van der Zant. Might have had a few issues coming through the Murray's corner, but up through Griffins they go, and up the hill once again for lap 14. We are coming up to 30 minutes through this endurance race here at round 10 at Bathurst, the legendary Bathurst. Ouch. That is not what you want to be doing. The livery makers for the F-Type Jag are going to be pulling their hair out here. You do not want to be scraping shields or metal with those barriers at all. It can really damage the car and actually can ruin the aero. And slight touch there as well through the grate. Very tricky section to get right. Takes a lot of commitment, and you've got to make sure you're absolutely spot on, because you want the car to be going as fast as possible as you come into the S's here and down Skyline. So great driving here from Dean van der Zant. He's the championship leader at the moment for the Pro-Am category, and he's been driving fantastically well this season. I've got to give my hats off to Dean van der Zant. He has been dominant throughout this entire season. He's a good 20 points or so ahead of the next contender in P2, that's Matthew Jointson. He's been uncontested for the most part in the entire season here at GT3 Championship. Unfortunately for his team, not getting similar successes in the other divisions, and so his team overall have been doing rather poorly comparatively to his performance. And his performance, though, has put him right in the lead of the Pro-Am category. So he's looking to seal the deal today. Can he make it happen? We've got another 60 minutes in this race tonight. Of course, it is afternoon at the circuit, so we might get just slightly into the evening on this track. The wind has started to fall away just a little bit, so it's getting pretty calm and cool out there. Track temperature has increased now to about 18 degrees Celsius, so it's heating up quite significantly. Into the pits comes Aidan Sampson, still behind Dean van der Zant, who went very wide there at Hell's Corner. Is the very conservative corner there at Hell's Corner of Jeff Bruin. I think he's looking just to settle into the car, really get himself in a consistent mindset and start putting in some consistent lap times. That last one was pretty good, a 2:04.199. Previous one was a 2:08. He might be holding a little bit of damage as well, which we will check up on in a bit. So the Player1 SimGear telemetry will be brought on screen in about 5 or 10 minutes, and we'll take a look down the grid, check out who's on what tyre, see where they are in terms of fuel, and see if anyone's carrying any significant damage as well. But Ricky Rick at the moment, he'll have to pit, I think, this lap. Based on what my telemetry is telling me at the moment, he's got a 3-second gap to Sean Parker behind, so that gap has actually come down by half, so it shows you what a fresh pair of tyres does here. That 6-second gap now down to 3 seconds, and of course Ricky Rick, he has to pit as well, so he will be provisionally out of the lead. He's provisionally in the lead, he'll be very soon out of the lead, and he'll be hanging out with the Kangaroos in the pit lane while he gets his car refueled, gets any damage repaired that he's been carrying through today's race so far. Yeah, some of the cars out there have been taking a bit of a bruising. Dylan Scarborough going for a spinaroo. So Scarborough's Motorsport really were looking very, very strong in the early stages of this race, but that Porsche, when it's got low tires, it just doesn't want to behave at all. It becomes an absolute beast to handle. Into the pits comes Ricky Rick. So back into the lead, the 83 car of Sean Parker, our privateer. This is really going to make things interesting, because if Sean Parker wins this race, those points go absolutely nowhere in terms of the team title. So there's going to be a few unhappy faces, I suspect, in this lobby if the win here ends up in the hands of Sean Parker. And the only person challenging for that is 12.5 seconds back down the road, and that is Matt Kutcher for Black Rose Racing. So Sean Parker, well, I'm looking forward to seeing the telemetry as well, the full telemetry, as what I'm showing on my current screen is not quite telling us the full story of what's going on here. We'll see if there's a bit of strategy being executed by Matt Kutcher, and whether Sean Parker is maybe pushing a little harder than he wants to be, or should be at this stage of the race. But he's certainly got a fantastic lead so far. Sean Parker has been staying out of the trouble, out of the barriers. Overall, been doing very, very well. He's been, well, that was a bit of a touch there, up the hill. Down through the grate we go, and a little bit of contact there as well. So he's not keeping entirely out of the walls, as I was saying before. Maybe a bit of commentator's curse, a little bit of lapse of concentration from the privateer. But overall, setting pretty decent times. Personal best in Sector 2 there. So 1:02. Not bad, not bad at all. But behind him, Black Rose Racing. So Matt Kutcher in the 426 car. He's gone purple in Sector 2, so very good job from him. Then we've got Dean van der Zant, who's also gone on a personal best. Behind him, Jeff Bruin now coming through the dipper. Looking, oh, I was about to say stable. I don't think that was particularly stable down there. I feel like he's a little bit cautious down that section. He got very, very wobbly there earlier on. Lost 3 positions in one move. He got wide coming through the S's. If you get wide through the S's, you compromise your entry. You need to take a wide line entry into the dipper. That's what allows you to get the 4 tires back on the road as fast as possible. If you can't do that, you can't put the power down, and then you're going to run wide on the exit and open yourself up for overtakes on the inside down into Forrest's elbow, which is exactly what happened to him about 10 laps ago. He would be running higher up in the standings, but unfortunately for him, a little bit of a few incidents that he's gone through, but not nearly as bad, unfortunately, as the Scarborough Motorsport chaps. And we're going to have to go and find Matthew Joynson on the track, because Dylan Scarborough, now the lead driver for the Porsche outfit, he's on the back of Karma Foster. So we're going to stay on board here with these two as the fight does indeed continue. We do go for a wonderful camera view here. The broadcasters were just trying to find it, and looks like an overtake is happening. He's going to go on the inside of Griffin's corner. Is Dylan Scarborough. Great move there. And he's going to hold it. Karma Foster can't do anything about it. She's got to concede the position. Gets a little bit squiggly on the exit there, but Dylan Scarborough, what a move there for the Scarborough Motorsport driver. He's got a lot of work to do after that big spin. He was looking very, very hot for a top 3 finish here today, and now he's got 7 seconds to close the gap up to the 4th position of Jeff Bruin. So a lot of work to do now for Dylan Scarborough. He's fallen 25 seconds, 26 seconds, in fact, off the leader of this race. He was only a few seconds behind Dean van der Zandt when he was in the lead. So that has not worked out for him, unfortunately, after that spin at Murray's corner. So he's got to, he's going to have to do some serious work to bring himself back up into contention. So just going around the grid now, we're going to go up from last position here. That is Chris White for for WTCR, the South Australian team. This is the team that Dean van der Zandt, our Pro-Am Championship leader, is driving for as well. Of course, WTCR stands for World Touring Car Champion Racing. Chris White, last time out, got 3rd position overall. He was a strategic master in the rain, but unfortunately on the dry circuits just doesn't seem to have the same kind of level of confidence that he had out there in the rain. So unfortunately he's back down in last place. Then we've got Tim Pears. He's driving for Strike Racetech, and he goes very wide at McPhillamy Park. That is not where you want to go wide. And, oh, just gets it back on track. Dirty tires. Take it easy in the number 9 car there, Tim Pears. That is a crazy place to have an accident. Luckily, there's a big gravel off track there for him to go, and oh, sideways through the dipper. Oh, that is a scary situation to be in, but managed to get the car control back in just in time. So that was very, very close from him. Then we've got Wade Rushton, the leader of the AM Class Championship, but running well down the grid. He's 3rd to last in the AM Class at the moment. That is going to be very, very disappointing for the 88 car. He's possibly running an alternative strategy today. We're going to investigate that once we bring up the telemetry in a few minutes. And then ahead of him is Troy Britnell for Black Rose Racing. Also having a pretty decent race. He's 6 seconds ahead of Wade Rushton at the moment. Then we've got Richard Robertson. And we've had Tim Pears. Tim Pears is also at a DNF, so as he was coming down straight there, he's peeled into the pits, and he is DNFing. They are retiring the car. Strike Racetech have retired the car of Tim Pears. He is out for the remainder of this race. The Hill claims another victim by DNF. That is unfortunate. I will try and find out what exactly has happened to Tim Pears' car, but unfortunately for him, that Mercedes has not lasted the distance. In 9th place now and hunting down Ricky Rick in the 777 car, it is Matthew Joynson, formerly our race leader. He is now really struggling after a series of incredibly unfortunate laps where he ran into the wall several times and lost position after position. Oh, it's a scary thing being in that Porsche down the dipper. Really, really is. So well controlled by him. But the real pain in his ass at the moment has been the cutting. That has caused him a lot of hassle, especially under braking. He's going in very, very hot into the cutting. You can probably just reduce the braking just a little bit, bring it back to 90 or 80%, and just brake a little bit earlier. That'll cool down the brakes as well, make it a little bit easier through the next part of the circuit. You're very hard on the brakes all the way down the hill, sort of on, off, and that really heats them up. So when you get to this stage down here at Forest Elbow, you're looking to get down the straight through the chase, because at the chase you've got another big braking zone. So there's really no respite for the brakes or the tires or the drivers around this track at all. And right at the back now is Matthew Joinson. We know that these Scarborough Motorsport drivers are very fast here today, but it doesn't matter if you're fast if you can't keep it on the black stuff. And at the moment, those two drivers have not done that successfully so far. They've been consistent, but unfortunately, they've also been off the track in the barriers and spun around. Not ideal. So Mad Rick doing well in the Pro-Am category here for Strike Racetech. His teammate Tim Pears unfortunately had a retirement. He had to retire the car. Aidan Sampson elevated to 7th position, with Karma Foster still in 6th and holding that position very well. She has come in for her pit stop a few laps ago, so she's on fresh tyres now. And then Dylan Scarborough, he is losing time to the leader, sadly. Chops 1983, that's Sean Parker. But then we've got Jeff Bruin. So a battle brewing now between Dean van der Zandt and Jeff Bruin, who's just gone purple with a 102.079 in the second sector of this lap. That is a fantastic little sector time there for him. He's also got the fastest lap of this race at 203.1. So Jeff Bruin really putting the pedal to the metal, because he knows now that he's got both the Porsche drivers of Scarborough Motorsport behind him on track. So he needs to take advantage of that and get himself up into the top 3, secure himself and his team a whole bunch of very well-earned points. Purple again through sector 3 of this race. So down through the Conrod Straight they go into the chase. Will Jeff do another one of his masterclasses here? Jeff Bruin has been absolutely amazing down at the chase. And while Dean van der Zandt gets very squiggly on the exit there, it's going to open him up. He's going to go defensive into Murray's corner. Can Jeff Bruin do it on the outside of the corner? He's going to try, and yes, he does. Forces Dean van der Zandt onto the inside, but runs very wide on the exit of the corner. And that is going to put him back once again behind Dean van der Zandt to go for another lap here. But as I was saying, Jeff Bruin has been an absolute master down at the chase. He's shown how much skill he's got on the brakes, able to get that car slowed down and staying within millimeters of the car in front. Just absolutely astonishing, as well as a fantastic overtake to regain a position on Monica Camilleri. He's just astonishingly good at the chase, but some of the other corners around here haven't been his friend today. But he's pushing hard right now. He's got Dean van der Zandt right ahead of him. 0.4 is the gap. I do hear we're getting some onboard shots as well, so let's go and check things out. Oh, a little bit wide once again. Oh, sorry, that is unfortunate. What has gone on there? That's a broadcasting error from the team down on the pit lane. It's very unfortunate, but we've got a little bit of onboard here from Dean van der Zandt's car. You saw him just graze the exit there on the cutting, and now we've got Jeff Bruin once again all over his rear bumper. Very brave and taking a lot of speed through McFarlane Park is Dean van der Zandt. Jeff Bruin can't keep up with him in that section. Personal best time once again in sector 2. Down through the dipper they go. Look how violent it is. Jeff Bruin getting a little bit squiggly on the exit of the dipper, just not timing the power being applied with the 4 wheels hitting the track. And then, oh, that's very wide for Dean van der Zandt. Okay, so he's got a very bad run now through the Forest Elbow. That's going to affect him all the way down Conrod Straight. And I think this straight here is about 0.8 of a kilometer. So Jeff Bruin, look at that car now. He's got the slipstream. Can he make something happen here? Looks like he's going to try for the inside move there. No. Gets on the brakes. He's not going to perform one of his spectacular overtakes here just this time. He's quite happy sitting in the slipstream, but he will be picking up dirty air from Dean van der Zandt. So not necessarily ideal here for the Gridline Racing driver. He needs to get up into those top 3 positions. A P3 is right there, right in front of him. And oh, that was very close. Runs wide in Murray's corner. That was very close. Good car control there from Jeff Bruin to maintain the car, because that was very dicey. He's quite conservative through Hell's Corner as well, but Dean van der Zandt really knows how to find the speed with that Jaguar F-Type GT3 class car. Dylan Scarborough off in the distance, as you saw. Very easy to spot the yellow Porsches on track, luckily. Some of these other cars are a little bit hard to spot, but great liveries overall so far. We are approaching half race distance as well, folks. So I hope you've all been enjoying so far, because I've certainly been having an absolute blast. There's action all around the track at the moment, including up at the top of the field, where we've got Chops Sean Parker is reaching some back markers. Excuse me. He's reaching some back markers now, and that looks like Chris White. Yes, Chris White has got the blue flags being waved. He's got a few corners only to let the race leader pass. He's not done it just yet. I think he's just deciding, look, you can do it on the straight, mate. No issues. He's indicating left. There we go. So, oh no, he's decided to go on the right side. So, we'll see. But the blue flag out there for Chris White. Now, race leader Sean Parker is going to have to get past him very, very soon. 13 seconds down the road still is Matt Kutscher. But these two here, Dean van der Zandt, who's run wide again, and oh, that is scary out of Forest Elbow, just trying to apply the power and get a good run out, but it's compromising him on the Conrod straight. He's under a lot of pressure now from Jeff Bruin, but Jeff Bruin had a worse exit, so he's dropped just around 1 second away. Was up about 0.4 away, but both of these guys going purple, setting 2:03s, 2-minute 03 lap time. So these are very, very quick lap times. Remember, we had Dean van der Zandt in first place. He got a 2:01.9, which is very impressive in qualifying. That secured his P1 on the grid. Fortunately, just lost out, got overtaken and overtaken. Obviously trying to apply some strategy, throws a bit of dirt onto the track there, says, hey, you can eat my dirt, mate. You can eat my dirt, you can eat my dirty air as well. You can have all of it. You just stay behind me on track. I'm having this P3. There you go again. Just gets onto the dirt, throws it up in Jeff Bruin's face, and Jeff Bruin will be sitting there in the 18 car going, oh, thank you very much, mate. I really appreciate that. That's just lovely. I love having dirt for the for afternoon tea. Purple again, Dean van der Zandt. So both of these guys on a push lap. They know what's at stake here, and going very, very quickly. Now, as I understand it, we are being told we can bring up some telemetry now. So we're going to go through the entire grid and check out where everyone is at. So at the moment, on the racing soft tyres with about 45% of the fuel left, and looking very strong still, it is Sean Parker. He's on a charge. He's looking after his tyres, driving very, very well. He's not setting great lap times, but you don't need to when you've got that kind of gap ahead of you. So in second place, then is Matt Kutscher. He's suffering a little bit more on tyres here. Did pit about the same time as Sean Parker. He's about the same fuel as well. So both Mercedes drivers finding an optimum strategy here at the moment and pulling away from the rest of the pack. Looking further down the field as well, we've got Dean van der Zandt, sorry. As he's under a lot of pressure from Jeff Bruin behind. He's very low on fuel as well. So low fuel runs here on the soft tyre, and I believe we're going to see a pit stop in the next couple of laps from Dean van der Zandt. It's on about 15% fuel. Jeff Bruin, he's holding a bit more fuel in the tank and a bit more tyre, so he's looking to run a bit longer. He's been using that slipstream very, very wisely that he's got ahead of him, despite the dirty air. He's just using that to save a bit of tyres, save a bit of fuel, keep it nice and clean, and he's setting fantastic lap times. That's a very optimistic line through the chase, but he manages to keep the car under control. Jeff Bruin has been demonstrating some excellent car control today, as has everyone on the grid. Unfortunately, we've had a couple of DNFs so far. We'll talk about those soon. Behind them, with still about 18% of his fuel left, very dead rear tyre. This is why the MR cars and the Porsche is struggling here today. Those rear tyres, with so much power the car puts down on track, are really, really struggling, and that's going to affect them in every corner, especially when you get into the left-hand corners, like down the Dipper and through the S's at Skyline. That's really going to make it tricky to control. We've seen both him and Dylan Scarborough and Matthew Joynson getting very, very sideways through the Dipper. Purple there for Dylan Scarborough, so he's on a bit of a charge himself. Further down, we've got on 26% fuel and very, very nicely controlled and managed tyres. It is Karma Foster. So she is now the lead driver at the moment or the only driver remaining for Ned's Whiskey out on track. Sadly for them, Monica Camilleri had a massive, massive car failure. The steering column as well as the brakes exploded on her, and she had no control in the car. She slammed into two other competitors down at Murray's Corner. Very unlucky for the NED Racing outfit, and her car was just absolutely totaled from the failure as well as the incident that occurred afterwards. Then we've got Aidan Sampson for Diffusion Race Engineering, Spotify-sponsored BMW. Healthy tyres on 45% fuel. He's just pitted recently as well, so he'll be running quite long into this race. I'm thinking now we could potentially be seeing two stoppers. And we've got behind, it's Ricky Rick. So Strike Race Tech here, the 28 car. Pro-Am driver. He's on about 50% fuel, so the competition between him and Aiden Sampson, who's ahead of him in P7, also starting to heat up. I think Ricky Rick will be able to run a little bit longer. Unfortunately, his teammate Tim Pears also had some car troubles, so Strike Racetech deciding to retire the car, unfortunately. When the telemetry stops working, you're actually unfortunately forced to bring the car in, and that is what I've heard over the radio is unfortunately the connection that they had between the car and the telemetry for race safety unfortunately ended up breaking down, so his car was just unable to finish the race. You can't be out there with no telemetry, and unfortunately for him, his race is over. So sad, really sad to see both Tim Pears and Monica Camilleri out early, both with car issues, and Bathurst here proving to be very, very troublesome for the cars and the technology we've got in this GT3 class car. And my commiserations go out to both of them because they're both fantastic racers. Monica has been a star in the GT3 Championship, as well as Tim Pears. And while Tim Pears has not had the best of results at all times, it's been an absolute pleasure watching him race, watching him get better throughout the season. Both him and Mad Rick for Strike Racetech have done their team very, very proud, both their team and themselves very, very proud. So my hat's off to both Monica Camilleri and Tim Pears. We hope to see you both back in Season 2, and hopefully with a few less car issues. Dean van der Zart, he's just gone into the pits and just come out. So he has decided, no, I do not want to be dealing with Jeff Bruin anymore. I'm going to try and pull a gap on fresh tyres and a full tank of fuel. By the way, that is the cursed commentator's phrase. Full fuel tank. Full tank of fuel. See, it's a tongue twister. Everyone in chat, give that a try. I can guarantee you, you're going to mess it up. A full tank of fuel. Fuel tank of full, if you are so inclined. But nonetheless, that aside, rant aside, it was my commentator's job, of course, to be as articulate as possible on the race, and I hope you are all enjoying the live broadcast here today in the GT3 Championship. Of course, this is round 10 out of 10, our final round, bringing the MotorMotion E-Series back into its home area of Australia. Look at the tyres get off the ground there from Team van der Zart. Fantastic shots from our broadcast crew here. Of course, the GT7 platform providing us a fantastic place to go racing today, and one of my favorite tracks as well, Bathurst. It's absolutely brilliant. Behind him, Jeff Bruin, also on racing softs and a full tank of fuel. Hey, I got it right this time. Then we've got for Diffusion Race Engineering with damage at the moment, unfortunately. Slightly dead tyres going onto the grass a little bit there. Be careful, Mr. Robinson. So Robbo Sport, Robbo Robinson for Diffusion Race Engineering in the 21 car, I believe, or the 20 car, sorry. He's picked up a bit of damage. He's an AM class driver as well. Is currently up really close to the top of the grid in terms of the AM class championship. Karma Foster is currently leading that. We'll go back on her on board with her very, very soon. Wade Rushton, this is where things get really interesting, because Wade Rushton, unfortunately, is having a race that he wants to forget, because he's currently leading the GT3 Championship AM class. But if Dylan Scarborough, who's currently in P8 and also pitting, finishes ahead of him, he may end up finding he's losing that P1 slot in the Drivers' Championship for AM class to Dylan Scarborough. And of course, it's not only that, it's the team title as well. Gridline Racing in the chase right now of Scarborough Motorsport for the team's title. Only 20 points are in it. And right now, he needs to be helping to contribute to getting his team right up there. Otherwise, Scarborough Motorsport may take the team's title. So in the pits we are with Wade Rushton. He's getting a fresh set of tyres and a full tank of fuel. Troy Britnell comes through. He'll go up to P10. Provisionally, he'll need to come in and pit. No, he's just come in and pit. My apologies. So the 55 car there, pretty close to full fuel. He'll come out ahead of both Robbo Robertson and Wade Rushton. So Wade Rushton back down to P12. He is just not finding the time he needs, unfortunately. So then going down to P13, blue flagged again is Chris White. Don't know who he's got behind him. We will find out pretty soon. Camera crew not being on my side sadly at the moment, but that's okay. Blue flags, he'll have to obey that soon. He's on about 60% fuel and just on a nice fresh set of soft tyres. And that, of course, is our race leader, Matt Kutcher. So hold on, there's been a really big incident here, or a switch around. I don't quite know what. So we have missed that as we've been going through the grid, but something has happened because Sean Parker suddenly is out of the lead and down by 20 seconds. So I think there may be a pit stop involved here. Matt Kutscher, in fact, yes. So Matt Kutscher running very low fuel. He has yet to pit and running very, very worn tyres. He's trying to do an overcut here on Sean Parker and try and get ahead of him. But the undercut is happening now through Sean Parker because there's about something like 30 seconds that you're going to spend in the pit lane, depending on how much fuel that you need to put in the car. So this could still work out in favor of Sean Parker, who's going to be jumping back ahead once Matt Kutscher decides to get into the pits. Now, the interesting thing here is, again, Karma Foster, who is currently leading in the AM class. She's got Aiden Sampson behind her, but she's going to have to come into the pits this lap, otherwise she's going to be in all sorts of trouble. As in running out of fuel and tyres kind of trouble, which is not what you want to do here at Bathurst. It's an uncomfortable feeling crashing into a wall, getting damaged or going slow anywhere here because the traffic really does catch up with you very, very quickly at a track like this. And suddenly you can find yourself in the way with nowhere to get to move over, and a whole bunch of cars coming at you at 200 kilometers an hour. Very uncomfortable feeling, I can tell you from experience. But she's doing a very, very good job. We're going to keep an eye on this because we don't know if she's going to jump out behind currently second place in the AM class, and that's Dylan Scarborough. He's just been into the pits for some fuel and a fresh pair of racing softs, and I suspect we may see a good battle between him and Karma Foster later in this race. But he managed to get ahead of Karma Foster, so really it's all about getting that gap. He's going for an undercut strategy here. Let's see if he can pull it off. The fight between Jeff Bruin and Dean van der Zandt, as we do see Matt Kutscher come into the pits now, has sort of widened up a little bit. Mad Rick now getting in the way and holding up Dean van der Zandt. So Jeff Bruin may be going for a slightly slower strategy here. Save a bit of fuel, try and go a bit longer, catch up with the likes of Dean van der Zandt a little bit later in this stint. And we are 55 minutes through our 90-minute race, so we only have 35 minutes remaining. So pit stops now are going to be absolutely critical. Will you run long? Or will you run wide like Mad Rick and Ricky Rick has just done there, a bit wide through Murray's corner. Dean van der Zandt hot on his heels now. Matt Kutscher has pitted. Karma Foster has pitted. That is going to elevate. Oh, we've got to switch around for P2. So Matt Kutscher has stayed out way too long, and that has put him behind Dean van der Zandt. So Dean van der Zandt has now actually picked up provisional P2 overall in this race. He's getting closer back to the lead, but Chops out front has got a 8-second lead and about 12 or 13 seconds still over P2 and P3. So very, very good job still by Sean Parker. He's leading the race and doing very, very well. Can he hold it? Can he keep this performance up through the end of this race? And there is, like I said, 35 minutes or 34 minutes to go in this race. So still a long time. There's no joke at all. But yes, this battle here between Mad Rick and Dean van der Zandt is starting to heat up. And as I hear it, we are going to be getting another Player 1 sim gear on board, and that'll be with Matt Kutscher on very, very fresh tyres. So let's go on board, turn up your headgear, because we're about to get some beautiful V8 sounds from this car on board. Well, that was another fantastic lap there on board with our Player 1 sim gear on board action. There's fantastic camera views we've got. And in the foreground, we did see Dean van der Zandt making some moves. He got ahead of Ricky Rick. Now he's all over the rear bumper of Aiden Sampson. Aiden Sampson will have to pit again, but Dean van der Zandt is on an absolute charge right now. He is looking to overtake Aiden Sampson right now, so Dean van der Zandt is looking very, very strong. He's looking quick. He's looking brave. He's looking confident. He's done very, very well so far. Looking to his right to check if he's got space to move over, and he does. Down into the chase, excellent braking from him. Runs, nearly a little bit of oversteer on the exit there, but very, very well controlled. Very difficult to get the car slowed down in that section, as we do see Aiden Sampson peel off into the pit lane, and Dean van der Zandt goes up into P2 on this race. So Dean van der Zandt now is closing the gap in on Sean Parker. Sean Parker and him have been fighting all season long, and unfortunately Sean Parker not able to keep up with Dean in the end, but Sean Parker right now looking very, very strong, but he's going to have a very fast Dean van der Zandt closing down that gap throughout the next 30 minutes of this race. We are 2/3 race distance. It's going to be fantastic to see what Dean van der Zandt, Sean Parker, Matt Kutcher, and Jeff Bruin, as well as all the others, can do in the remainder of this race. And as I hear it from the pit lane, he's got his entire family, does Dean van der Zandt, down in the pit lane. They're watching the onboards. They're down there with the crew of the WTCR team, hanging out with the engineers and watching the action replay. Shame, unfortunately, we can't go on board down to the camera views down there in the pit lane and see his whole family, but I'm sure they're there cheering him on, and seeing that overtake was an absolute pleasure for the entire family, I can imagine. But yeah, great stuff here from the 132 car, the F-Type Jag, looking very strong here at the end of this race. He's going to be able to go, I think, for at least another 10-15 minutes. Going to the pits one more time, I suspect, in this race, get a splash of fuel in the car, fresh set of tires, and then go and absolutely charge to the end of this race. Of course, 90 minutes here. We're 1 hour through, so 60 minutes of the 90 minutes here. This is the last 30 minutes of the GT3 inaugural Season 1 Championship, sponsored by Player 1 Sim Gear. You are watching live here, and in the commentary box, I'm having a fantastic time. We've had battles all over the grid. We've had things turn on their heads for a number of drivers. The big story at the moment is, unfortunately, for these Porsche drivers for Scarborough Motorsport. They have absolutely fallen off the wagon with lots of issues for the MR cars at the Dipper. They've just been flying off the track, flying into barriers, and that has really hurt their chances to secure a really good points haul. At one point in this race, they were running P2 and P3, but unfortunately no more, now running P6 and P9. So it's absolutely brilliant here to watch this action go down. We've got Ricky Rick, he's gone into the pits now. That'll be maybe for the last time in this race. We'll keep an eye on him. And then we've got Matthew Joinson, so Dylan Scarborough's teammate in the 777 car. He's just gotten ahead of Aiden Sampson there. Aiden Sampson had a very slow outlap after his pit stop, and Matthew Joinson says, "Thank you very much. I will take that very, very happily." He's now got Karma Foster ahead of him in the Aston Martin to chase down, but he'll have to come in for another pit stop reasonably soon. So Matthew Joinson, oh, that car is looking very unstable. It's complaining. He's having a real fight today to keep the track, the grip on the rear tires. So honestly, good job just keeping these MR cars out there, because they've been into the barriers and everything. So the team down in the pit lane for Scarborough Motorsport have had a lot of work to do during these pit stops, repairing a lot of damage. So yeah, here we go. Purple again goes Matthew Joinson. He's on an absolute charge. He's now set the fastest lap of this race. So don't count out Matthew Joinson at any stage of this race. We know how fast he can be. He's done it at Autopolis, where he went very, very long, and he ended up getting the win. And then he's also done this at Suzuka. So he's a master of the recovery drive, is Matthew Joinson. Sometimes that hasn't worked out for him, but and his strategy calls have occasionally been a little bit questionable. But overall, he's been an absolute brilliant racer this time out at the inaugural season. So after 10 rounds, can he make a charge? Unfortunately, Dean van der Zandt being so far up the field now, Matthew Joinson being stuck in 7th position. He's not got a lot of chance. He's only got 27 more minutes to try and gain 5 positions and get ahead of Dean van der Zandt. Oh, look at that Porsche down the Dipper. That's very, very scary stuff. Even the marshals, I see them wincing, going, oh, please just keep control of your car, mate, please. But Karma Foster in front there, doing a good job to hold off Matthew Joinson. Pro-Am versus Am class driver right now. And Dylan Scarborough, in other news, has actually jumped back up into the AM class lead. So Dylan Scarborough is leading the AM class. He's ahead of quite a bit of the Pro-Am league as well, so he's looking to bag some extra points today. Of course, if you are an AM class driver and you finish ahead, well, that was scary. Through into the chase they go. Almost wasn't enough room there. And, well, very, very deep did Matthew Joynson go. Is that going to allow Karma Foster to have a little bit of a look back down the inside of Murray's corner? She's going to think about it. She puts her nose in and gets it slowed down. No, she forces Matthew Joynson there to run a bit wide, but runs a bit wide herself. So good racing there from Karma Foster. We know that she's very good at the defensive driving, proving herself out here amongst the Pro-Am drivers at the top. So great job by our P2 currently in the AM class is Karma Foster. So well done to her. But yes, as I said, the real story at the moment that I reckon we've got to go and focus on a little bit more is Wade Rushton. So Wade Rushton, he is up in the P10 now. He might be trying to run to the end. I think he's going to have to come in for another pit stop. But the 88 car, he had a terrible qualifying. Really had an awful, awful time after having such good results last time out. And unfortunately for him, this is not going to help Gridline Racing out in the Teams Championship much at all. He's secured a top 10 position at the moment, but there may be cars behind him that are not pitting again. Maybe cars in front of him that'll end up running away with them once they've done their pit stop as well. So unfortunately for Wade Rushton, P10 maybe all he can manage today. Just not finding the pace here in the BMW. I don't quite know what it's been, but he's just not had the pace out here at Bathurst today, whether it's getting the tyres up to position or confidence in the car. All of these little factors can help. And look at that, he's run into the wall. He's run very, very wide. Oh dear. Wade Rushton having an awful time up the hill through the grate into Solomon Park, and then I'm starting to not be able to pronounce the word, McPhillamy Park. Down through Skyline he goes. The car's just not looking grounded at all. He's looking very uncomfortable in this car today, and that will explain why he's so far down the grid. Very unfortunate for Gridline Racing. They needed some good results in Pro-Am and AM, as well as in the Elite and Pro categories, to make that jump on Scarborough Motorsport for P1. This might be sealing the deal for Scarborough Motorsport, because damage on the left car, front of the car, is going to be held now by Wade Rushton until he goes back into the pits. His teammate, though, Jeff Bruin in the 18 car, 4th position right now, 3 seconds behind Matt Kutcher, who we see in the foreground shot there. So Jeff Bruin has got a chance here in this race to secure a P3 finish. It's all on. This is absolutely brilliant racing here at Bathurst for round 10. Everyone is giving it maximum effort, in the words of Deadpool, maximum effort. And oh, the Gridline Racers, what are they doing? Oh, he's got damage as well. So Jeff Bruin is also holding damage on the left front, both the BMWs. Really struggling. Oh, that was really close in Solomon Park. Oh, dear, Jeff, you're going to have to slow down a bit, man. I know you want to be pushing, but that's just cost you a second on track, and you're carrying damage now. That's going to allow Matt Kutcher to get the gap to widen up quite a bit. Yeah, look how slow he is through the dip. He's very cautious now. He understands that without that front left and the front splitter to give him that downforce, this car is going to be like it's driving on an ice skating rink, sadly. And yeah, that's going to make a huge difference. Out at the top, we've got Sean Parker and Dean van der Zaan. This is the race at the moment for the lead. Only 10 seconds between them, so Dean van der Zaan has closed in on Sean Parker by 1 second in the last couple of laps. He's also gone and set the fastest lap of the race, now to Dean van der Zaan. So Dean back into qualifying pace now. He's done a 2:02.481. That is great pace from the WTCR driver. He's on point to really challenge Sean Parker in the remainder of this race. Fantastic stuff from everyone on the grid today. And shout out, of course, to Matt Kutcher in 3rd place. He's still holding on to the back of Dean van der Zaan, only 4 seconds behind. So a great drive at the moment, potentially for a P3 finish for Matt Kutcher and Black Rose Racing. That's going to make a huge difference in their fight against Diffusion Race Engineering in the team's title. Purple again. There's Dean van der Zaan. He really is on a charge now. He wants to make up the time as much as possible. 9 seconds the gap. So just in that first couple of corners, through Hell Corner up the mountain straights into Griffins, he's actually cut 0.5 of a second. I do wonder if Chops is starting to struggle on the tyres he's on right now. He's got blue flag traffic up front of him, and that is not going to help his cause at all. Back down the field a little bit, the 22 car of Dylan Scarborough. He's got what looks like Karma Foster behind him, but I believe that's a blue flag traffic of Chris White. So Chris White now being lapped by the midfield. Chris White not having the best day out here for WTCR. He's having similar struggles to that of Wade Rushton, where the track and the car just do not look settled at all. And that's causing him to run a bit wide and having to be a lot more cautious in the braking zones and in the corners. Whereas guys like Dylan Scarborough, the Porsche, just looking absolutely planted around most of these corners. But it all comes loose when you have to dance down the hill, because that MR car, being mid-engined and rear-wheel drive, you have to be very, very cautious down here, because the car starts to fall away from you. As the track falls away, the suspension bottoms out, and the grip level goes to very, very little. It's like you're skating on an ice skating rink, and the MR cars, like the Porsche, are particularly susceptible to that. We saw the Mercedes, we saw a comparison earlier on. The Mercedes AMG car, definitely a lot planted. It's really, really planted, those FR cars, including the F-Type Jag, including the Aston Martin, all looking very, very planted. The only other car that's FR that looks like it's struggling is actually the BMWs. They're not looking particularly planted, and Jeff Bruin here, he's really going to struggle with that damage he's picked up. So, into the pit lane comes Dean van der Zandt. That puts Matt Kutscher up into P2. So Dean and his pit crew, we're going to have a little watch here. He set some very fast laps. There's only 20 minutes remaining in this race now, everyone. This is it. These are going to be the last pit stops that you see today. Dean van der Zandt will be running to the end. Can he make it happen on Sean Parker? This is a very, very good strategic call here from Dean van der Zandt. Get in early. Get the new fresh racing softs on, and then go ham. Try for an undercut here on Sean Parker. Sean Parker is going to have to respond to this. He's going to have to, because if he doesn't respond to that, he's going to find that he's losing even more time per lap relative to Dean van der Zandt, who may end up coming round Hell's Corner and finding himself in first position. So it really is all down to the decision that Sean Parker makes on this lap. He's got to try and come in my opinion, and try and get himself out on fresh tyres to counteract the undercut that Dean van der Zandt will be doing. So yes, he had 10 seconds in the bag, but it was dropping rapidly. So he knows that Dean is going to have a huge amount of pace behind him, which means he's got to make a decision. You've got to be decisive in these moments when it comes to strategy calls. And this is one of those moments here at Bathurst. This is a make or break moment. This is the kind of stuff you see at Bathurst 1000, where strategy call can make or break your race. It can be the difference between P1 and P2 here. Elevated temporarily up into third place is Jeff Bruin. Oh, that car's looking very, very difficult to control at the moment. Our leader in AM class, Dylan Scarborough. Whoa, looking very, very quick there. Great camera shots the camera crew are producing today. Absolutely stunning stuff. Dean van der Zandt is out. He's on his out lap now. We'll be seeing what kind of lap times he's able to set, but he's on brand new racing soft tires. He's on full, more or less a full tank of fuel. Currently getting a bit of slipstream from his teammate, Chris White. Chris White is down in last position at the moment, sadly. Doing well, though, overall in his race. He's had a solid season. I think a season of learning, a season of improvement for Chris White here. He's got a very, very good teammate in Dean van der Zandt, who I'm sure has been coaching him and mentoring him all season long. And he'll find a nice place to get himself out of the way of his teammate. There we go. The pass has been made. Jeff Bruin into the pits, and Sean Parker has gone again. Sean Parker is still out. That is going to be very, very interesting, because look at who he's got behind him. He's got Troy Britnell, his teammate. Oh, sorry, not his teammate. He's got Troy Britnell on Black Rose Racing, also blue flagged, so no racing going on between those two. But you can see how much he's starting to struggle on the tyres, whereas Dean van der Zandt, who's in P2, if we unravel the grid in terms of pit stops, he is looking very, very quick. So Jeff Bruin comes out of the pit lane. He'll be in sixth position. Aiden Sampson not able to get ahead. Might get a bit of an advantage in overspeed down the mountain straight, or up the mountain straight, I should say. But probably to no avail at the end of the day. Karma Foster. Very, very good job by her. She could be going to the end here, everyone. We are 1 hour, 13 minutes into this race. 17 minutes to go. It is make or break time now. You've got to make sure that you're consistent, fast, and that your strategy has been on point. All the strategy calls you've made throughout the last hour and 15 minutes all come down to this. We're going to have a lot to digest at the end of this race. I'll try and get my calculator ready so we can try and figure out if there's anything that we can announce, the results, of course, for today's race and qualifying will be announced on the MotorMotion E-Series Facebook page. At the moment, as it stands, if Dean van der Zandt can continue his run of form, as we do see Sean Parker come into the pit lane. So this is what we want to see now. We want to see where Dean van der Zandt is. He's coming down Conrad Straight. Oh, this is going to be close between Dean van der Zandt, who's picked up damage. He has picked up damage late in this race. Oh no, so he's going to be carrying front splitter damage and left tyre damage all the way to the end of this race. That is going to massively compromise him because Sean Parker is in the pits. Matt Kutscher elevated up into P1 at the moment. Sean Parker is still refueling. How much fuel is he going to take? And how long will it be till he comes out? He's out of the pits now, but the gap is going to be significantly shorter. Through the pit straight, we do see Dean van der Zandt, and Chops has just come out. So the gap now is going to be, let's try and do some math here, it's down to 6 seconds. But unfortunately for Dean van der Zandt, he has picked up that damage. That is going to be a significant swing in the wrong direction for the 132 car. Chops is going to be absolutely stoked when he hears that over the radio from his team. The Dean van der Zandt, his main competitor for P1 here, has in fact picked up damage. Provisionally in the lead is Matt Kutscher now. So we'll see, he'll have to pit again most likely, although with only 15 minutes remaining, Matt Kutscher may be doing the dark horse move he's done once before. He's got 14 seconds to Sean Parker behind him, so that's a lot of work for Sean Parker to do. Matt Kutscher here can just save fuel. This could be a massive, massive moment for Black Rose Racing and Matt Kutscher if he's able to get this car to the end. We've got 15 minutes remaining in this race, 15 minutes. It's counting down, it's not long, and that is going to equate to about 7 laps around this track. So 7 laps remaining in this 1 hour and 30-minute race, and Matt Kutscher has come out of the woodwork once again and maybe proving the pundits wrong, and Black Rose Racing could be picking up a huge bag of points here. This could make the difference between the team's title for Diffusion Race Engineering and Black Rose Racing. The gap is coming down quite rapidly, but overall, this could be it for Matt Kutscher. If he can continue to maintain this lead, if he's only losing somewhere around 1 to 2 seconds a lap, for the next 7 laps, he could be in position to win this race. This is going to get very, very exciting on the last few laps as these times get closer and closer. Now, interestingly, we've got Dylan Scarborough up in a 3rd position overall now. He may need to come into the pits one more time. Check on board with him. In fact, he is in the pits right now, so that elevates Dean van der Zandt back up into 3rd position. Interested to see what the gap is. 8 seconds is the gap to Sean Parker. But right now, it may be that both Dean van der Zandt and Sean Parker have ended up, oh, that's very wide there at Hell's Corner. Not going to help the cause and give Sean Parker a bit more headroom. Both Sean Parker and Dean van der Zandt have been leapfrogged by Matt Kutscher. So Jeff Bruin, Gridline Racing, he's in 5th position right now. Dylan Scarborough having to come into the pits is going to put him behind the Gridline Racing driver. We've got to look and try and find Matthew Joynson. Matthew Joynson was having a brilliant race at the start. He's now back into 9th position, 11th position for Gridline Racing. So this is going to get very, very interesting because the top 2 teams in this competition are having a real battle right now on grid, and especially in the Pro-Am and Am category. This is going to get very interesting because at the front for Gridline Racing, Jeff Bruin, he's not going to get any extra points for finishing ahead of the other Am class competitors or other Pro-Am competitors, whereas Dylan Scarborough, who's currently in 8th position now, for every Pro-Am class driver he finishes ahead, he will bag another point in the team's championship. Of course, double points available here today, so every single car that you finish ahead as an Am class driver will make a huge difference in the team's title. So he's got a lot of work to do. He's got a Pro-Am driver, a couple of Pro-Am drivers right ahead of him. Both of them pretty slow on track right now, and Ricky Rick and Aiden Sampson. So it's all to play for Dylan Scarborough, the owner of Scarborough Motorsport. But interestingly, at the back of the grid, we've got the reverse. So we've got Wade Rushton, who's well behind all the Pro-Am grid. So he'll be getting no extra points here for Gridline Racing. Whereas we've got Matthew Joynson, who's right at the back of the Pro-Am field, and he'll also be giving points for finishing that far back. He's 1 position, as you can see, behind his teammate. He'll be giving points to his teammate and all the other Am class cars ahead of him. So it's a very, very interesting grid right now. But the lead at the moment with Matt Kuchar and Sean Parker in P2. This is where the race is happening. This is all heating up while Dean van der Zart in the background running onto the grass at Hell's Corner. Not a good idea to do that. I guarantee you that's going to dirty up the tyres. Luckily, it's not the tyre that you really rely on through Griffins, as it is a left-hander. As it is a right-hander. But it's not going to help your cause, certainly as you come up the hill towards the cutting. That's a left-hander. And you're going to need that right-hand tyre, so you need to get that grass shaken off the tyre as soon as possible. Great drive here today from Sean Parker. A return to the grid for him. He's been away for a few races this season, but he's come back very strong, fighting, and he's in a position to potentially put on a challenge. However, I've got to say, at the moment, Matt Kuchar, will he be able to make it to the end? I don't know. He's going to have to go into maximum fuel-saving mode at the moment, but Matt Kuchar, he's been maintaining the gap to Sean Parker. So Sean Parker not able to close up the gap in any even close to the amount that he needs per lap. He needs to be closing up between 1 and 2 seconds per lap on Sean Parker. At the moment, that gap is only closing by about 0.5 of a second. So he's really not in a position right now as Sean Parker to be putting on a challenge for the end of the race. The question is, will Matt Kuchar decide to come into the pits? He's going to have to do another 5 laps here, and he's on very low fuel, only about 15% fuel, so we can only use 3% of fuel per lap right now. I think he may not make it to the end in these last 10 minutes. We may see him dive into the pits any moment to get a splash of fuel and try and get out there, which would then drop him back to about 3rd or 4th on the grid. 4th position right now is with Karma Foster. She is leading the AM class right now, but only provisionally. She will need to pit again. That'll put her behind Dylan Scarborough, and some action has been happening here because Dylan Scarborough has been catching up with Aiden Sampson and Mad Rick, and they're going to go side by side and back into a line, and probably side by side again through down Conrod Straight and down towards the chase. Looking for the inside he is. Now he's going to look for the outside. Can he make something happen here? No, thinks better of it. Good decision there from Dylan Scarborough. You do not want to be in a situation where you are ruining your race even further. He's had a slip and a spin at Murray's earlier in the race, and that really put him off kilter and down in 7th place. But he's already made it back up to 7th. He's got Mad Rick for Straight Race Tech in front of him, so maybe he'll look for a move here into Hell's Corner. He looks up the inside, puts a nose in. Does he think better of it? Yes, he does once again, but it forces Ricky Rick offline slightly, but not a good launch day. He compromises his own exit on the corner. So it'll all start again as they go back up the hill. These three are in the closest battle on the grid so far, so we will stay on board with this fight, because every single car that Dylan Scarborough passes now is another 2 points for the team's title for his team, Scarborough Motorsport, who are currently leading the team's title. So this makes a huge difference, especially when your main competitors, Gridline Racing, are having a really bad day out. 4th position, yes, for Jeff Bruin, but his teammate is back in 11th at the moment, and that is not looking healthy for Ricky Rick there on the exit of the cutting. Dylan Scarborough can't go anywhere. He can't go offline here because you'll compromise yourself all the way to the exit. So the only option is to lift off the throttle and just hang it on the rear bumper. This is not an overtaking area, and being that close to a car, you're going to be suffering dirty air. So Dylan Scarborough doing very good job at the moment to keep himself in a position to do an overtake, maybe after Forest Elbow. Got to focus on getting a good exit out of Forest Elbow at the bottom of the hill and down the Conrod Straight. That's going to be the best overtaking position into the chase. And into the pits comes Matt Kuchar. Matt Kuchar is into the pits as we do continue to watch this fight. Oh, there's been contact there. Oh, there's been contact. So Dylan Scarborough has tagged the back of Ricky Rick. That's going to compromise them both down the Conrod Straight. Aiden Sampson will maybe try to catch up a gap a little bit, but Matt Kuchar is going to fall down the field. Sean Parker returns to P1, so your race leader is now Sean Parker. Once again, that means the gap between him and Dean van der Zart is going to be one to look at. Great overtake there through turn 19 and 20 from Dylan Scarborough. Does he run a bit wide? Yes, he runs a bit deep. So does Ricky Rick. Now Ricky Rick's got Hellblazer and Aiden Sampson to fend off for the remainder of this race. Diffusion Race Engineering, of course, battling for its life to keep P3 in the team's title, and with Matt Kuchar up into 3rd place still, they're going to be looking over their shoulders and wondering, shoot, do we have the points for this? So Matt Kuchar comes out. He's not too far behind Dean van der Zart, only 4 seconds. He's on very fresh tyres and low fuel. 7 more minutes remaining in this race. The gap between Chops and Dean van der Zart has been growing. Why? Dean van der Zart is carrying some significant damage on the front of his car. that he gained after the pit stop that he did, and that has ruined his chances of catching up with Chops. And Sean Parker at the front, he has been very consistent. He's been out of the walls. He hasn't picked up any damage, and that is going to allow him to pull away for what is possibly a very, very well-deserved race victory for the privateer. That has major consequences in this division for Pro-Am, as well as Am class, as well as the team titles, because the full points haul, which was going to be about 44 points total, is going to go to a privateer. The full points, the double points here today, is not going to go to a driver of a team. It's going to go to a black hole that is the privateer ranks, and Sean Parker really helping to mix up the grid, and this is going to be very, very difficult to get the final results. We're going to have to potentially wait a couple of days for the stewards to finalize the results from round 10. This, of course, is the inaugural race here, the inaugural season, I should say, of the GT3 Championship, sponsored by Player1 Sim Gear. First season that MotorMotion E-Series have been running this, and it's been an absolute banger of a season. Season 2 is almost certainly going to be approved within days of the end of Season 1. I'm sure there'll be withdrawal symptoms from some of the guys and girls on the circuit. So we will have a little look around and up and down the field. And Matt Kutscher, so this is the interesting thing, Matt Kutscher for Black Rose Racing is now hunting down Dean van der Zandt. The gap has reduced already by 0.8, but we now have 5 minutes remaining, folks. 5-minute warning has been given to the drivers. You've got 3 laps left in this race, so it's all coming down to this. And Matt Kutscher looking strong behind Dean van der Zandt. So around the grid, we are going to go. You do see some fantastic onboards still around this track. So in last position, in 13th place right now, it is Chris White for WTCR. Ahead of him is Troy Britnell in 12th place. Then you've got Wade Rushton, leader of the AM class right now. And this has got major implications for the AM class championship. Matthew Joynson, Dylan Scarborough is way up the field at the moment. Way, way, way up the field. I'm going to get my calculator out right now, because I think we may have enough points there difference that Dylan Scarborough could be just in the range of taking away P1. So there is a 26-point difference here between Wade Rushton and Dylan Scarborough, who's well up the field. With the double points this round, it's unlikely that Dylan Scarborough can get enough points today to leapfrog him, especially considering Wade Rushton will finish this race today, unless he has a major, major issue, which would be an absolute disaster. So Wade Rushton, despite the bad performance today, the unfortunate performance today, he may still take out the win for the AM class division, which will be a great thing to add to his CV. He'll be very proud of himself for the season that he's had. But Dean van der Zandt, at the moment, no contest at all, because Matthew Joynson has absolutely fallen off the wagon, unfortunately, in this race. It's gone from bad to worse for him, unfortunately. He was running right up in the top, but damage after damage kept slowing him down. It knocked his confidence, and that has resulted in him falling back down the field. So very unfortunate for him today. But ahead is Robert Sport for Diffusion Race Engineering. Not the race they wanted to have. And then we've got Matthew Joynson in P9. P8 is Karma Foster. She's currently in 2nd overall for the AM class drivers. Then we've got Aidan Sampson for Diffusion Race Engineering, holding a bit of damage on his car. Then we've got Ricky Rick for Strike Race Tech. This will be one of his best performances and best finishes here today in the season. So then Dylan Scarborough. This is where things are heating up in terms of the AM class championship. He is our AM class leader today, and if nothing goes wrong, he will win the AM class category in round 10. Jeff Bruin here trying to consolidate some points for Gridline Racing. He knows he's got a lot of work to do for the team. He's probably out of range of gaining P2, but he'll solidly take P3 in the overall Pro-Am category. And we've got Matt Kutscher. He's done very, very well here for himself. He's well down in the category of Pro-Am, so he's not really driving for himself today. Today he's driving for his team, trying to get Black Rose Racing up into P3 in the team's title ahead of Diffusion Race Engineering. And with this point haul that he's taking at the moment, it's looking increasingly likely that he's going to be a significant help to do that. So Black Rose Racing, who originally in the start of the season were leading for the first half of the season, fell off the wagon in the second half, but they could be able to consolidate a P3 finish in the overall team's title. But Dean van der Zandt, he's carrying that damage still. WTCR are not in the team's title at the moment. They're well off in terms of points. But Dean van der Zandt is looking like your Pro-Am champion at the moment. As it stands, no one's going to be competing for the top spot other than Dean van der Zandt. So what a season has Dean van der Zandt had. He has made his name. He has stapled it in the tarmac with the races and performances he's had. We've seen excellent strategy from this man. Strategy calls, execution, consistency, speed, qualifying prowess. We've seen it all from Dean van der Zandt. A thoroughly deserved championship win for him in Pro-Am. We will go through and double check that those results are completely accurate. He's losing a lot of time though right now to Matt Kutscher. We are now coming up to the last minute. This is the last lap of the race, folks. So Sean Parker is currently on the last lap of this race. It's final lap, lap 43 of this race. Do not look away for even 1 second, because things are about to finish up here in our 90 minutes endurance race. And thank you to everyone who's been spectating and watching today and keeping me company. And oh wow, we've got a spinner. Who's that? That looks like Troy Britnell. That looks like Troy Britnell there. So yes, it is Troy Britnell. He's picked up a huge amount of damage, and oh, he's still in the wall. Oh dear, oh dear. Oh, that is very, very close there from these drivers. He's got to get it turned around. Very, very big turning circles that these guys have in the GT3 cars. So very awkward for him. For the last time, down through the dipper and through Skyline, into the dipper and down through towards Forest Elbows is Sean Parker, your race leader, and who will be, without fail now, your race winner in round 10. What a comeback for Sean Parker in the 83 car for the last time through Conrod Straight. Dean van der Zandt has got nothing happening for him now, but he's losing a lot of time to Matt Kutscher. We'll try and stay on board with this as much as possible. But the race is coming to a close, everyone. And your leader, who is going to be coming through the chase for the last time today, is going to be Sean Parker. But we'll go through the results, the provisional results that I can figure out with my little calculator during the end period of this race as we calm down from what's been a fantastic few hours out here at Bathurst. MotorMotion E-Series is so appreciative of the folks down at Bathurst for all the kindness they brought. But today, for round 10, to finish out the season for the GT3 Championship, it is Sean Parker who takes round 10 and a victory at Bathurst at the 90-minute endurance race. Congratulations to our privateer, and the battle rages still for P2, but to no avail, because Dean van der Zandt, your Pro-Am champion for the season, will take it out and take P2 here today, with P3, the podium positions being Sean Parker, Dean van der Zandt, and Matt Kutscher in this race. Fantastic job by all three. Absolutely spectacular stuff. And Jeff Bruin for Gridline Racing consolidating a 4th position finish here today. He's done very well. He's driven an absolute masterclass, especially down at the chase. We know how good he is. He's an amazing driver. And then, of course, we do have P5. That's Chris White, who's just got across the line as well. Dylan Scarborough, owner of Scarborough Motorsport. He'll be okay. He'll be happy with this result at the end of the day. Taking the checkered flag there for 5th place. And we've got Mad Ricky Rick, the Strike Race Tech. Best performance for him this season. Then we've got Aidan Sampson for 7th place. Karma Foster will take home P2 for the AM class. Dylan Scarborough taking P1 for the AM class. And then last but not least, across the line will be, unfortunately for Matthew Joynson, not a good performance, but he'll take P9 and consolidate those points for his team. That was a fantastic race there from all of the competitors. What an astonishing season we've had, folks. If you've enjoyed that, do of course let me know in the chat. Let me know your thoughts, and of course I'd love to hear your thoughts as well about driver of the day. Get your votes in now in the chat. Who did the best? Who had the most overtakes? Tell me what your thoughts are for driver of the day, and we'll have that discussion shortly. But for now, I need to run you all through the results and the final standings in our Pro-Am and Am category this time out. So, Sean Parker, of course, with your race win there, did very, very well over the entire race distance. Total race time of 1 hour, 30 minutes, 39 seconds. Behind him, Dean van der Zandt. And we've got Matt Kutscher in 3rd place. That's your podium today, folks. Then in 4th place, it is Jeff Bruin, followed by Dylan Scarborough, who has won the AM class today at this race. We'll let you know if he's won the overall championship, if we can figure it out. Then we've got Ricky Rick for Strike Race Tech, done very well in P6. Then P7 is Aidan Sampson. Then we've got Karma Foster in P8, a great result for her. Then we've got Matthew Joynson. He's taken the fastest lap today, so a little bit of consolidation there. He'll get 4 points overall for the fastest lap, a 2-minute 02.353. Very good lap time from him. Then we've got Richard Robinson for Diffusion Race Engineering in 10th spot. That rounds out your top 10 today. Then we've got Wade Rushton, who is potentially our AM class champion for the division. but falling into only P3 overall. In fact, no, I think he's actually, yes, he's taken P3 overall in the AM result today in round 10. Then in 12th position, we've got Troy Britnell for Black Rose Racing. A nice consolidation of points there for him. Then Chris White in the F-Type Jag for WTCR. Almost another WTCR sandwich. We like to use this BLT reference. The bread being, of course, Chris White usually at the bottom, unfortunately, and then Dean van der Zandt usually at the top. Not today, sadly, because Sean Parker takes out the victory. And unfortunately, we've had 2 DNFs today. Monica Camilleri suffering a steering column issue, as well as a simultaneous brake issue, which caused her to fly through Murray's corner completely out of control. She had no ability to control the direction of the car whatsoever, and that unfortunately meant that her car had to be retired from the race. And then Tim Pears, unfortunately, he lost telemetry in his car, and unfortunately for safety reasons, that means that car had to be brought back to the pits, and he unfortunately also DNF'd. So very unfortunate for both those drivers, but nonetheless, let's get to the interesting stuff, and this is going to be Pro-Am and Am class results. So I don't have the official numbers. Unfortunately, I'm not able to announce them on stream, but it is looking like Dean van der Zandt has in fact taken the Pro-Am Championship in the inaugural season of the GT3 Championship Season 1. Congratulations to Dean van der Zandt. He is the Pro-Am champion for this season. In terms of the AM Class Championship, Wade Rushton, it looks like he's managed to hold on, and only just. So Wade Rushton looking like he will take the AM Class Division Championship as well. So there are your victors. Honourable mention, of course, to P2 and P3 in Pro-Am. That's Matthew Joynson and Jeff Bruin, most likely in that order, and Dylan Scarborough and Robert Robinson in that order as well, I suspect. We will get the full result, of course, on the MotorMotion MotorMotion E-Series, MotorMotion E-Series Facebook group, as well as our website, www.motormotioneseries.wordpress.com. So make sure you go check out our website if you want to join. We're about to start a new season of the Surefire Supercars series. So Supercars are back, folks. We've got over 50 people who have registered over 3 divisions. There is heaps of action coming up with MotorMotion E-Series. And of course, next week we've got the final of our TCR Cup, also in the Audi TT 2016 cars. So make sure you tune in next week for that as well. That'll be next Saturday. So make sure you're ready for that. But today, it has absolutely been a pleasure bringing you the commentary from the commentary box. What an end to the season. It's been an absolute privilege for me to do all 10 rounds in Group B. It's been a brilliant, brilliant season from all the competitors, all the teams. And I believe if I go up to the team results here, team's title, as far as I can tell, in terms of the results here, I can't actually say. I've got my calculator out. I've been trying to figure out the results. I don't know if Gridline Racing have done enough. I don't know if Scarborough Motorsport are far enough ahead to take that win. You will find out by going to www.motormotioneseries.wordpress.com, where you will find all the results in the coming few days. So that, folks, rounds out the official Season 1 for the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship, sponsored by Player1 Sim Gear. We are going to leave it there. It's been a fantastic time up here in the commentary box. Thank you, everyone, for being in the chat as well. We've got a couple of drivers of the day suggestions here. Jeff Bruin is one. We've seen a few others there for Dean van der Zandt. Overall, I think my driver of the day today for a fantastic comeback drive, although it's a very tricky one because we've had a lot of good results overall in today's race. But I think at the end of the day, for holding on at the end all the way through, potentially, I think my driver of the day is going to be Dean van der Zandt for the last race of the season. He's claimed the Pro-Am Championship. He's had a pretty good race overall. Qualified first as well. And just not able to keep up with Sean Parker today. So my driver of the day will be Dean van der Zandt. Poor crikey, it's been an exhausting evening of racing, but what a race to behold. Absolutely brilliant stuff from all the competitors out there. And thank you all in chat for your support during this race. Make sure that you leave a like and a subscribe on our YouTube channel, which you're watching right now, the free live broadcast. Make sure you drop a like and a subscribe for us. It is really, really appreciated. Shows us how much interest we've got in these races, in these championships. And of course, your patronage is most appreciated. We will be back at some point with Season 2 announcements for the MotorMotion E-Series Player1 Sim Gear GT3 Championship. Season 2 will be kicking off either later in this year or early next year, so stay tuned. We will be going to talk about that at some point soon. So the next races, of course, will be going to TCR Cup and we will be doing the final round of TCR Cup, and then, of course, the last rounds of that will then be followed by Supercar Series. So from here in the commentary box, as we wind down, as we lower down the energy a little bit at the end of a fantastic 90-minute race, thank you all once again. My name is George Cooke here in the commentary box. Thank you all for staying tuned. We will finish out with a few adverts from our sponsor, Player1 Sim Gear. Remember to check them out on www.p1simgear.com.au. Their prizes for the Division Championships have been a pair of awesome sim racing gloves. So go check them out. Really appreciate it. And a big thank you to all the admins and all the drivers and all the teams in the MotorMotion E-Series for putting on a fantastic Group B season. I hope the Group A lobby has been as exciting as this has been for round 10. But from me in the commentary box, it's a huge thank you to you all. Stay safe out there. Take care. We will see you next time from the commentary box here from MotorMotion E-Series. Thank you. Good night, good evening, and goodbye.
Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 Sim Gear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 Sim Gear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series.